So welcome everybody to today's event. You are all a part of the FEI family, the FEI community, and we are so thrilled that you're here to celebrate FEI's 10th year and our continued commitment for another 10 years. We're so excited and gathering virtually, but I feel everybody as though we're in the room together. Before we begin the program, Carmen Ponce, FEI's Director of Family and Community Engagement, and Carlos Pacheco Miranda, FEI's Program Coordinator, have a few special announcements to ensure that everyone can fully participate.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias por estar acá y acompañarnos a celebrar nuestro 10º aniversario de FEI. ¡Woohoo! Para escuchar en español, por favor, cambie su configuración y presione el símbolo interpretación. I want to introduce Abel de Andraez Colina, who will be interpreting for us today. Thank you. Gracias, Abel.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In just a short moment, Pauline will disable the chat. You know, we so value community and connection, but we want to honor our presenters and to be present. There will be time to chat during breaks, and we'll make sure to let you know when those are.
Thank you, Carmen, and thank you, Carlos. So the intention of today is to celebrate 10 years of FEI and launch us into another 10 years. Our hope is to highlight the work and practices of FEI by having you experience the power of community to heal and catalyze social justice through connection and stories. Our students will succeed when their identity and lived experiences are valued and understood in and out of the classroom, as we commit to dismantle oppressive structures and systems and reimagine our educational system. Systems are not made of policies. Systems are made up of people implementing policies. We cannot close gaps if we don't close the gaps in our minds. We have a wonderful morning planned, and we're grateful you're here to share the experience, to inspire community, to dream big, to advance equity together. In the words of Sean Gin Wright, hope and the capacity to dream of a world beyond the present is at the heart of social justice. And Brian Stevenson says, our hope is our superpower. Once again, we welcome you all today. And I will continue to the next slide. Thank you. We're so glad we are all gathering here together. We want to welcome everyone. But I want to take a few moments to acknowledge some of our special guests in the audience. We have, of course, our Chancellor, Judy Minor, our President, Nguyen. We have on our FEI Advisory Board, Lynn Christensen, Elena Lopez, Paulo Perez, Clara Roy, Ernesto Saldaña, and our Melissa Cervantes and Dennis Chima. We also want to welcome, and I apologize for not getting this on the screen ahead of time, but our new president, Lloyd Holmes from De Anza College. Thank you so much for being here. We have our wonderful president of our board of trustees, Pearl Chang, Peter Landsberger, Gilbert Wong. And we have our special guests from the Foothill Commission, Jan Fenwick and Rondo Ashaguha, and from our FHDA Foundation, Shyamola Banerjee, Swati Advani. We have from our De Anza Commission, Fariba Nejat, Yuina Kuboto, and we have our special guest, Dr. Marianne Dewan, Superintendent of Santa Clara County Office of Education. If I've mispronounced anybody's name or left you off, I do apologize, but please welcome everybody. So let's find out who else is in the room, and I hand it over to Pauline Brown, Supervisor at FEI.
Hello for everyone, and good morning. Again, my name is Pauline Brown, and we do want to get a pulse and see who else is in the room. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to share a polling. And if you see this polling right now, if you could just give me a thumbs up, or if your camera's on, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, and we can start filling in those polls. So, what do you most identify as? ¿Quién está en el salón? Con que se identifica más? Student, estudiantes, faculty, I'm sorry, I'm over here interpreting. Teacher, staff, administrator, community leader. So if you see this polling viewing right now, please go ahead and start entering in.
Pauline, okay, ooh, thank you. Cool.
All right, I'm seeing, okay. Good morning, good morning. Yes, we see administrators this morning, faculties, a couple of students, community leaders. Okay, good morning, welcome and welcome. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll and share the results. And again, good morning, everyone who are joining us in today for FEI's 10th celebration. So what we're gonna do right now, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. And if I can. So the opening song is a drumming instrumental version of the OJ's "Now That We Found Love, What Are We Gonna Do With It?" And before we get started with today's celebration, FEI would like to open up by showing love to all, but most importantly, the aboriginal inhabitants of this land. Today, we have with us a former FEI Peak Intern student, who is currently a Foothill College student and student activist. She is serving as a voting member on Foothill's Educational and Equity Council, and she happens to be an elementary and middle school tutor, Jamie Alberton. Jamie will be opening today's celebration by reading the land acknowledgement. So we're going to give it up for Jamie. Please show our appreciation and honor for Jamie, who will be reading our land acknowledgement.
So let's just get into it. So we are gathered today on the traditional land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, the original inhabitants of Los Altos Hills. I ask you to join me in acknowledging this community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. We, the leaders of Foothill Dianza Community College District, also acknowledge that the district was funded upon unceded land, and that under the flag of education, our instructors and students violated graves of the Ramaytush Ohlone. We hereby commit to working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of both of these takings and the usurpation of the other rights of the people who once lived here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie, for those powerful words to honor and to launch our day. Thank you, Jamie. Now I'd like to turn this over to our fearless leader, our Chancellor, Judy Minor, who has been an FEI champion from the beginning, to introduce our special guests. Thank you, Judy.
Well, thank you so much, Betsy. And I'd just like to begin by acknowledging again Santa Clara County Superintendent of Schools, Marianne Dewan, who's taking time to join us this morning. Marianne, would you just please unmute and say hello to the group? We're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here and to join you in this really important celebration. Congratulations on 10 years. Thank you for your investments and community and parents and parent engagement and recognizing the importance of family engagement. I love the theme for today. The focus on equity is just so near and dear to our hearts and to our work. And it reminds me of a theme. You know, children are the priority. Change is our reality, but collaboration is going to be our strategy. So again, thank you for welcoming me, having me join in this celebration, and congratulations to all the honorees.
Thank you again. And now it's my honor and pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Nicole Taylor, President and CEO of the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. You can certainly read various websites to learn about Nicole's many professional accomplishments, but I'd like to share some observations of a more personal nature. I'm privileged to serve on her board of directors, and I am in awe of the energy and vision she brings to the foundation. We can talk about people who light up a room. Well, Nicole has so much wattage that she can light up a Zoom room. I'm convinced her charisma is the direct reflection of her courage to tackle historical inequities and racial injustice that manifest themselves in education and income gaps in our local community. She has made it clear that the Silicon Valley Community Foundation exists to close those gaps through systemic change. Nicole is a woman of great intellect and emotional intelligence, and she has already begun to move us towards equity and justice. We will be a better region because of her. Please feel free to use your reaction button to welcome Nicole to our virtual stage. Nicole, over to you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Judy, for that kind introduction. Really, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Betsy, and the FEI Advisory Board, the Foothill Board of Trustees for having me here. You know, whether you were a student, a family member of a student, a supporter, an educator partnering with this organization, thank you for joining us today to celebrate the Family Engagement Institute's decade of impact, changing lives. The diversity of this crowd alone speaks volumes to the reach of FEI and the influence in convening an entire community around one common goal: to support our students in their journey to academic success. You know, FEI and everyone associated with it, your efforts are needed now more than ever. Think about everything going on in our country right now. And then think about who has been hardest hit by the pandemic, by racial equity issues and social justice issues, by the fires and the evacuations. Families like mine, that's who's been the most impacted. And so many of you here today and your families have been directly impacted. So it is an honor, it truly is an honor for me to be here with you, because I was asked to speak about my personal journey and why I say families like mine are the ones who've been most affected. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and what has led me to where I am right now. See, I'm a first-generation American, the daughter of an immigrant. So my story actually starts with my mother's journey. She came to this country at the age of 21 with only the equivalent of a 6th grade education. And she immigrated here to the United States from Jamaica. She lived with a wealthy family, serving as their unpaid domestic worker for many years. And 6 years after she and this family had come to the United States, I was born. Growing up, I shared a bedroom with my mother. I shared a bed with her until I was about 6 years old, but I shared a bedroom with her for many years. And later I would share a bedroom with one of the 5 children with whom she helped care for. My mother and I straddled the worlds of wealth and poverty every hour of every day of our lives. And although I was close to the family I was raised with in their household, I never did feel a part of their world. I knew I was different. I knew we were different. We didn't have much in terms of material possessions. We were undoubtedly very poor. But in so many other ways, I felt so blessed. Being a live-in domestic worker, as many of you may know, my mother was always around in my early years growing up. So she and I created and shared such a close bond. By the time I was in elementary school, she also began working in one of the family's businesses. So she would work there in their business many, many hours during the day into the evening, and then she'd come home and do all the domestic work at nights and on weekends. And of course, yes, I would help her. I learned the value of hard work from her, both through her example and through her persistent lessons. My mother taught me that in order to succeed in this country, I would have to work harder and be smarter than everyone else. If I had something to say, she encouraged me to always raise my hand. And if I was not called on, she said, speak up. She instilled in me the belief that education would lead us forward and lead us out of poverty. Her work ethic inspired me, and her support anchored me. And my mother was right. Mothers are usually always right. That's what I tell my son. I'm always right. Stop trying to fight me. I'm always right. But education did change my life. It actually changed our lives. So I attended an all-girls private school in Los Angeles. And yes, on financial aid. It was the Immaculate Heart High School. And it was run by a group of incredible nuns who welcomed girls of every religion and race, and fearlessly stood up to the male priests and taught us how to be strong women. My alma mater, by the way, is also the alma mater of the likes of Tyra Banks and Meghan Markle. So those nuns knew what they were doing with us. Through their guidance and with my mother's encouragement, I began to cultivate my own identity and voice as a strong, independent woman of color. I worked hard, and I earned a full ride to Stanford University. And move-in day was the first time I'd ever set foot on the Stanford campus. I mean, it was amazing. Never seen anything like that in my life. But my mom and I didn't have money to tour colleges. That was out of the question. So we drove up from Los Angeles and arrived on campus that day I was supposed to move in. At Stanford, I had aspirations of becoming a doctor, and I majored in human biology. You know, my mother's voice, though, and also my aversion to biochemistry kept me on a different path. Education. I would always hear her voice. So I was drawn to teaching, and I was drawn to youth-serving organizations as an undergraduate. So I added a focus of educational policy to my studies. I earned my master's in education and teaching credential in science at Stanford. And as a graduate student, I started my career as a student teacher in science in a middle school in Palo Alto Unified. Then I moved to teach middle school science in Oakland Unified in West Oakland. The two districts are only about 35 miles apart, right? A bridge apart. But the disparities were a world apart. I was shocked at the differences. In Palo Alto, my science classrooms were fully stocked with lab equipment, teaching supplies. We went on regular field trips. And this was the time before cell phones and personal computers. And many of my students had personal computers at home. I didn't even have a personal computer as a grad student at the time. And when I went to teach at the school in Oakland, I had no lab equipment in my classrooms. The textbooks, science textbooks, completely out of date. And when I say out of date, like 15 to 20 years out of date. There were no field trips. There's no money for it. The faculty didn't even have a copy machine, let alone computers for the kids. And I would often wonder, I'd drive to the school every day, and I would ask, why is it okay for children to have such vastly different experiences and outcomes in their education just because of where they live? Doesn't seem fair to me. So that experience launched me into seeking true systems change and to fight for equitable solutions. I left teaching and have worked in the nonprofit and philanthropy sector. I've ended up leading community organizations, private foundations, and community foundations. I also worked in higher education as an administrator at Stanford and at Arizona State University. And in January 2019, I was appointed to lead the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. I usually don't talk about our assets, but I think it's an important part of my journey. I oversee $10 billion in assets. When I got this job, my mother, her mind was blown. She in a million years, she said she never thought it would be possible for a kid like me from a family like ours to achieve that. Through all these years, I often look back to my teaching roots. I think of my students. I think of their voices. I think of their families' voices. And to this day, I continue to carry those voices into my work. I ensure that an equity frame is present in every conversation I'm part of, every decision that gets made, and every policy being shaped. So for example, the Silicon Valley Community Foundation's response to COVID-19 by design was rooted in equity. When the pandemic first hit the Bay Area, we prioritized resources to help those already affected by racial disparities and inequities, and those who are unlikely to receive state or federal support, like our undocumented neighbors. I was honored to serve as a co-chair of the Silicon Valley Recovery Roundtable with 59 leaders representing all sectors: corporate, social, government, philanthropy, religious. We all came together to work towards rebuilding this region to serve everyone. Having corporate CEOs from very prominent corporations at the table discussing the needs in our communities was inspiring. It left me hope. At the same time, many of those CEOs admitted being far removed from the very communities, the communities of color, undocumented residents, low-income families, whose shoulders they admitted they stood on. Without these communities, our communities, Silicon Valley's innovation would simply not be possible. And yet, those folks, the folks that we were trying to create policies and inspired action for recovery out of this pandemic, weren't present in the room. So my staff and I would always bring the stories and voices into the conversations, constantly. We wanted to ensure that those voices were heard. To lead by example, we created a community advisory council at the Community Foundation. It is hard for me, it's hard for my team to be everywhere in this region and to actually keep our ear on the ground. So we've created this council where we bring 22 community leaders of color together, and we hear what they're doing on the ground. What are their clients doing? What are the kids that they work with? What is happening to the residents in this region? These voices of these leaders are helping to guide our work and ensure that we continue to implement strategies and advocate for policies using a race and equity lens. I share this with you because the role of intentionally bringing equity to the forefront of all of our work is imperative for real systemic change. All of us here today, whether you're a student, you're an educator, administrator, supporter, every one of us has the power to shape and transform the future. For many families, getting to that reality is not so simple. As you know, not all families have equal access to the systems of support needed for academic success, simply due to factors completely outside of their control. And when it comes down to it, access to high quality education and support is an issue of racial justice and equity. California is home to more than 9 million children. 43% of those children are from low-income families, and over half are Latinx. Not 9% of low-income students will complete a 4-year degree, compared to 77% of their affluent counterparts. 9% of kids who were like me. We need to be asking, what can we do to advocate for and help students succeed who are from under-resourced communities? How can we ensure that all families have better access to educational engagement programs? How can we train educators and school administrators to become more versed in working with and supporting families across different socioeconomic backgrounds? How can we improve upon culturally relevant family involvement and community engagement efforts, which are some of the strongest predictors of children's educational success? And finally, how do we meet families of students of color and families who are facing tough financial circumstances where they are and empower them to realize their potential? Now, fortunately, our region has the Family Engagement Institute, because this is the work that they do. For the past decade, they have been working to seek solutions to those questions that I just asked. And they've been providing families with equitable access to educational opportunities and the tools they need to succeed. As I've been reading about FEI, and I've known about it for several years, I see myself and my mother and the students and families who are part of FEI. I was extremely blessed that my mom put me into schools that provided us the resources and support for me to pursue my education. Many first-generation students are not as fortunate. So I am extremely grateful for the work of the Family Engagement Institute and how you help thousands of other immigrant families like mine navigate the educational system and prepare them for school and the workforce. FEI staff and educators are trained to deeply understand the families they work with. They offer the individualized support that address the barriers that prevent so many from succeeding. FEI undoubtedly, without a doubt, improves the lifelong trajectory of entire families, paving the way for ongoing success and opportunity in our community. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible FEI staff, faculty, and program partners. Because of you and how you advocate for the families you serve, you've built them a space, even virtually now, that embraces who they are, that acknowledges their unique stories and gifts and lifts their potential and their strengths. Your work proves that advocating for equity for underrepresented communities can create a real movement. With the country's current landscape, these issues are becoming even more acute. We have seen this digital divide is more pronounced than ever. Thousands of students lack a computer or a tablet at home, have no internet connection. They're struggling to learn remotely. And we are at a moment of national reckoning over race that has shined a blinding light on the racial injustices that have plagued our country for too long, 600 years to be exact. And we're actually now confronting all of these crises at once. COVID, job losses because of the pandemic, fires and those displacing them, social justice, calls for police reform. And as I started at the beginning of my talk, who are those most affected by these crises? Who are those who are already facing uphill battles, shaped by racial disparities and inequities? We know Black, Latinx, Indigenous, other communities of color, so many of whom are also from low-income communities. You know, in order for those communities to truly overcome, our communities to truly overcome the systemic barriers that have been stacked against them, and for them to have real, fair, and a lasting shot at success, we must address disparities across every system: economic, health, social, law enforcement, education, all at the same time. The pandemic and the calls for racial justice are only magnifying the fact that we need to do more together. And we can start by consciously elevating the lens of equity in all that we do, which is why today is so exciting. It's what FEI is all about and what they're highlighting today. It's the shared responsibility, again, of all of us to address systemic inequities and to empower those who've been historically excluded, and to work hard to reinvent our systems to be more accessible for everyone. Well, as I close, my mother passed away in February, and I'm always thinking of her and all that she has taught me. And I'm especially reminded of her today. I hear her voice telling me the same message she ingrained in me so many years ago, that education holds the key to our future. I applaud the Family Engagement Institute for its 10 years of service in the community, for advancing equity in education, and giving thousands of families the keys to their future. FEI has made incredible efforts to close the achievement gap through their equity-based programs, but they can't shoulder it all alone. So I encourage all of you to continue the fight for equity, to seek true transformative changes, not just in education, but across all systems. And I implore you to work with FEI and to use your positions, again, wherever you are from, whether you're a student or somebody who actually is in a position of power and privilege. Speak up for those who cannot. And in doing so, you will help build incredible pathways that will provide avenues of success to all members of our community. We all have the power to make change, and I believe that together we will. Thank you.
Nicole, thank you so much. You have started that change. I know that everybody is seeing that and hearing that. in having you with us today. And I believe that you and everybody in this room will make it possible for students like you and many of us who never thought
Right.
would be in college, let alone leading organizations of the kind of influence like you're doing,
Right.
like Marianne is doing, like
Yeah.
doing, like Nguyen is doing, like
Yes.
Betsy Nikolchev is doing. The future leaders will only be there if we do what you have just challenged us to do, and that's to make systemic change working together. For that, we thank you, and I want to hand it back to Betsy.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy.
Oh my goodness, Nicole, that was just absolutely amazing. I already have that emotion just up here, and I just, you know, you speak from the heart. You're connecting us to humanity, and I just thank you so much. And I know how proud your mom is. And wow.
Wow,
You
thank
said
you.
everything, and just thank you.
Thank you.
I just really want to say how you are such an inspiration for us all, but especially as a woman of color, as somebody who can talk those lived experiences and really can move mountains. And we want to walk side by side with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for having me, Betsy. Thank you.
Okay.
And for listening to my story.
Oh, thank you for sharing it. Amazing. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I will pass this on now to Pauline.
Thank you, Betsy, and also thank you, Nicole Taylor. In the Samoan language, Fafatai Tele Lava. Thank you so much for your powerful inspiration. Today, I open the chat and I invite you all to show some love for our opening plenary keynote speaker, Nicole Taylor. At this moment, I'm going to share a slide and we're going to ask a question. And it's one strength that describes first gen. So we have a Mentimeter up. I'm going to share this in just a moment, and we want to hear from you all. After hearing such a beautiful story of Nicole Taylor and her sharing that piece with us, that resonates with us so much, there is a Mentimeter. So if you can click on if you can grab your phones and type this in, your URL, www.menti.com. The code is here, and it should be open. So I will go ahead and slip in the chat the link to this. And then we're just going to take a second to just go ahead and one word that just describes, yes, I see it, resilience, ganas, yes, keep it coming, keep it flowing. Thank you so much, Nicole Taylor, for getting us started. Yes, grit, oh my goodness, drive, awesome. Power, yes, resourceful. Come on, everyone. Yes, that's the beauty of hearing stories, is that it connects us all. We are all diverse in our culture, in our background, in our demographic, but unity brings us all together, especially our first gen. So thank you so much. Yes, I see it. Yes, determination. Awesome. I love how people are writing their own language to describe first gen. Perfect. So I'm going to keep this flowing, and at this moment, 32. Awesome. And I'll go ahead and share the end results towards the end. Thank you all so much. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Thank you, Pauline. I wanted to talk now a little bit about, again, some of the things that Nicole has already touched on, but this disproportional impact of COVID has just accelerated the urgency and call to action to support equity-minded programs, and quite frankly, programs like FEI, to be able to continue our impact. We get tremendous support from the college and from the district in human capital and thought partners and infrastructure. We do not receive direct funding from the college. And so we need to reach out to our visionary supporters to allow us to continue our work. And we're hopeful that today will open the door to cultivate some new relationships and new partnerships with possibly potential funders, potential supporters, partners. And we need your support to connect us, to raise awareness so that we can, in fact, continue to raise resources so that we can do our work. Since 2010, we're proud to say we've delivered culturally responsive family and community engagement programs to more than 8,000 families, caregivers, providing college bridge courses through our non-credit programs. We've served and provided professional development to over 1,700 educators in our areas. We've prepared more than 950 children to be school ready. And we've mentored over 400 first-gen college-bound youth in our local community of Silicon Valley. We've only been able to do this work with the generous grants from our visionary funders. And in fact, we need to identify more visionaries to keep us going. And budgets and resource allocations are really moral documents that reflect our priorities and values. According to Vanita Gupta, president of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. So again, I know that our heart and our values are with equity, and we need to put our resources in the same direction. Grateful today for our Chancellor and President, who has graciously pledged to kick off our Campus Gives launch. And we've had the support from our foundation to help us set this up. And I want to hand this over to Pauline, who's going to give just a quick talk on how this actually works. Thank you, Pauline.
There are two ways you all can donate to FEI. One of the ways is through the website link that I'm going to place inside the chat. If you click on that link, it will redirect you to our Give Campus. Shout out to Foundation for supporting FEI and putting this up. And then also there's a QR code to the right. And basically what you can do, if you grab your phone and you turn on the camera, and then place the camera in front of the QR code, it would scan that code, and a link will pop up, and it will redirect you to our Give Campus site. So we encourage you all, if you and believing in our work, but also we know that no amount is too little or too big to support us. So we thank you all for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Pauline, and thank you, everyone. And now I'm so excited because we're going to premiere our new video. And it's Voices, the FEI story. We're going to watch it in two parts. We're going to watch the first part now, and then we're going to have some other wonderful programming, and then we're going to watch the second part a little later on. So please join us in our premiere.
FEI has been a huge influencer in my life. So if I were to just, at the crux of what FEI means to me, FEI has really been a platform for reflection in an atmosphere of trust. FEI supported me in really identifying my strengths and acknowledging them and exploring them and diving deeper. And I think that's just manifested itself in so many different ways. I don't see FEI's journey as really separate from my journey. When I was 14, my grandma had moved to nearby Mountain View. We closely followed suit. I was a student at Mountain View High School. I remember feeling really uprooted, being away from extended family, being away from my friends, being away from the only town that I had ever really considered home. And I was looking for ways to engage. And I remember sharing that with Carmen, and she immediately took me to Betsy, and they offered me a position as an FEI intern. And so I took that, and I've been with FEI for 7 years now. And although I think FEI from the get-go knew what its values were and still are, we're just finding new ways to manifest those values. And I think I am an expression of that.
As a Pacific Islander, as a Samoan American, one of our cultural values is family. In order for you to be a leader, it starts at home. It starts with your family. It starts with your community. And FEI sees the importance of the roles of families. As soon as I went off to college, that's when everything just kind of like put everything in perspective for me. There was rarely any Pacific Islander at UC Merced. There was like 2 or 3 of us. And I identified mostly with the African American community. So I was like, why don't I just start there? So I started building community at UC Merced. Ended up graduating with my cell molecular biology. But then coming back home, I noticed that I'm serving my family. I noticed that I'm serving the people of East Palo Alto. Where is a place that I can do that even more and grow my skills in serving other people? So I found the Family Engagement Institute. FEI has really been that platform for me to grow with my purpose of serving others, especially families.
My relationship with Betsy Nikolchev through this entire odyssey of 6 years of their service to our school has been one in which we have bonded and we have shared. We have talked about important things that are happening out in the world and how it affects our communities. That's been important to me, just to have that kind of outlet and just a friend to communicate with. And through that, we have taken other journeys together. We went to see Brian Stevenson talk, and that experience, I was able to bring someone else with me, and that experience brought more conversation about equity and justice for people who are underserved or underserved by the system that exists in our country today. So with that said, we're able to reach out to more people and have more of those conversations and to think about what things we can do to support all families and all children to be successful. It started with Betsy. From there, I pulled in other groups that I began to build relationships. And from there, we were able to build different support systems for children. I have a Saturday class that I started several years ago with a Links organization for African American students, and giving them an opportunity to understand their background, their culture, and all the advancements of people of color. I believe in reaching out now, and that was because FEI reached out to me first. And so I'm proud of that relationship, and I'm just honored that I've been given so much attention that they're there for me when I need them, and it's just been a beautiful relationship.
I was still in high school when I joined the Child Development Academy. So I was dually enrolled. The night before, it was the first day of the academy. I was super excited. I planned out what I was gonna wear and what I should bring, because it's college, it's not like high school. I didn't know what to expect. And so I had my mom drop me off at lot 6. I was walking up and I see flyers and I see a little poster kind of pointing towards CDA, and so I follow it, and immediately I'm welcomed. Also because my own family was heavily involved with FEI, and my grandmother actually took a computer class, and so me and her would commute together.
I had no idea that your grandma took one of our classes. I mean, I knew that your little brother was an STK, and as a result that your mom and your dad were a part of, that non-credit piece. Yeah. But I mean, even your grandma, that's awesome.
They kind of got a sense of what classes look like. They got their student IDs. They were very immersed in that life, and for them to kind of gain insight on what it looks like to be a student and what it looks like to take college courses, it helped me because they were able to support me in a different way, in a far more deeper way, because of that understanding and connection to their own classes they took.
FEI just provides families, especially of first generation, families who's never went off to college or whose kids may be experiencing college for the first time. FEI provides these families with the opportunity to promote a college-going identity. So we provide a college course for the families where they get to experience taking a real college class, and on top of that, being able to have access to the services that Foothill College offers. It gives them that opportunity to navigate a higher institution while at the same time just knowing what they could provide their children with when they go off to college, or even if they're just transitioning from middle school to high school.
I'm from Mexico, and I've been here for almost 20 years. I finished my high school in 2015. It took me 10 more years to graduate from high school, but I did it. I have 2 daughters. I want for my next generation to be able to go to college and university. For me, being in campus of the Hill College, well, this is my first time being here. And it was an amazing experience because I thought it was going to be same as the high school, but no, it's way, way better. I like the library, I love it, because it's a quiet and peace place.
So this is a very good experience because we brought our kids today, and it was an impression for them because we came here as a family.
Me gustó estar aquí, me gustó venir a este paseo, a ver y a aprender y a saber que tenemos oportunidades como personas inmigrantes. Mi experiencia aquí, de haber venido por primera vez en una universidad que yo nunca me había imaginado que iba a estar en una, es bonita y peor en familia, y darles a las nietas que el ánimo de decirles, ustedes pueden, ¿sí?
My daughter, the older one, she's all the time telling me, Mom, I'm going to be the first of your child to be in college and finish and go to the university. I'm like, yes, you are. I'm like cheerleading for her. You are going, yeah. Yes.
Families of first generation, first gen, that word is used a lot. And I would like to consider myself a first gen, but because my mom was going to college the same time I was going to college, I would rather give it to her. For her to put a first child through college while raising 6 others and doing four jobs at the same time, I would say she takes it all. You know, first gen, that's my mom right there.
Well, thank you. Let's give it up for our all those beautiful stories. Thank you for letting us share that with you. And humanity is about connection and relationships, and empathy is the fire starter of those relationships. So thank you all. Now, I'm so excited because today is a day to experience the magic and power of community. And it is my greatest honor to introduce you. Oh gosh, that's just not what I want to hear, my phone ringing. Oh dear, I can't turn that off. I'm sorry, it's not my cell. Okay, I'm gonna mute for 1 second. Okay. I think it's election time. Sorry about that. It's my greatest honor to introduce you to 3 amazing colleagues who I have laughed with, cried with, and learned so much from. So please join me in welcoming Ernesto Saldaña, Hilda Fernandez, and Elena Lopez. Okay, awesome. So Ernesto is a first-generation college graduate of Mexican Brasario farm worker parent with over 25 years of experience in nonprofit and education leadership. He's currently the Associate Director of Programs for Educational Equity at the Advancement Project, California, where he advocates for racial and economic justice in the field of early childhood education. Previously, he ran the state field campaign for Preschool California to establish a new grade, in California, transitional kindergarten. He served as executive director for Public Allies Los Angeles and led the national communication strategy for the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, the Educational Fund. He is also the president of Saldaña Benavides Consulting, where he is a certified professional coach and expert facilitator, which you will see very shortly. One of Ernesto's superpowers is his ability to establish connection, not only with an individual, but with groups in an audience to build individual and group capacity. He designs highly interactive programs engaging learning through experience-based methodologies that deepen safety, trust, and commitment, and uphold the value for inclusive, racially equitable leadership practices. Starting at community college, Ernesto transferred to earn his degree in political science and graduated law school with his Juris Doctorate. He completed his coaching certification through the Institute for Professional Excellence. Ernesto is a proud son of Mexican immigrant parents, where he learned from his mama. He learned to advocate for racial and social justice, and his papa taught him a passion for education. He is urged to put these values into practice by his life partner, Corina, and their 6-year-old son, who keeps him real, Yarel. Thank you, Ernesto. Hilda Fernandez. Hilda is a proud daughter of Mexican parents whose innumerable sacrifices and unwavering resilience provided her the foundation for completing her degrees. As an educator and citizen of her community, she honors these values in herself, her students, and her college community. Hilda, a Puente program alum, transferred from Cabrillo College to the University of California, Santa Cruz, where she studied abroad at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico for 2 quarters and completed her BA in Spanish literature with honors. Several years later, she returned to UCSC to complete her MA in literature, and currently she is an English professor at Foothill College, where her passion for teaching continues to grow as an educator who cares deeply about social justice. She values the impact of students' stories in the classroom and a willingness to learn in the community. To continue expanding her teaching, her dream is to co-create curriculum alongside the students she learns from and is as inspired by. And finally, Elena Lopez is an independent researcher dedicated to family and community engagement in education. As Associate Director of Harvard Family Research Project, she applied her skills in documentation, professional development, technical assistance to bridge research and practice with the goal of creating more equitable learning opportunities for underserved children. Her latest project is a co-edited monograph, A Library's Guide to Family Engagement and Learning, currently in the press. She enjoys hiking, reading, arts, and she's proud to be the mother of 2 adult children, both in education, and she misses her grandson during this pandemic. So we realize today that the time is short this morning to fully experience the power and magic of this reflective journey. But we see this as a beginning, as a start, and our hope is to find more opportunities to commit to this transformational work together. Ernesto, please lead us in the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy and Carmen and Pauline and Carlos and the FEI team. What a beautiful beginning. Oh, man. So as we're talking about, so there we go, Sana Sana de Rana, healing through stories, as you see that. Just to acknowledge the importance of stories and family, I myself and my mother was a domestic worker. And I would go with her during my preschool years. I was like 2 or 3 years old to go clean houses. Nicole, your story helped me just reconnect to the power of like our stories and our mothers. And she would have to take cleaning jobs that allowed her to take me with her. So so it was often white women, wealthy white women who would say, I don't know, little kid in our house when you're cleaning. But eventually they would say yes. And eventually that's how my mom would get jobs. Oh, you're the woman with the little boy. Right? And that's, so the good little boy. So anyways, thank you for having me on this journey. I just want to thank FEI for your just amazing commitment. You are on the front lines of this work, and you are the defenders of communities and families. First generation, just as a first generation college student, I'm grateful to you and the work that you all did and the work you provide for our families. So healing, we're talking about healing, right? And stories. So, as we're talking about this, FEI, you are critical and part of that healing process. So I just want to acknowledge just the healing that's already happening just by hearing the stories from like Nicole Taylor, Jamie, that land acknowledgement. Oh man, the video of showing the families, the student intern talking about her mom taking her abuela taking computer classes. That's just all part of the evidence of like love and healing that's happening in our communities. So I just want to first and foremost, acknowledge the importance of that and how that is happening. That's continually happening. Can we go to the next slide, Pauline? So what's important about healing, right? So obviously during this pandemic, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much loss. As I take a deep breath, right? There's a lot of hopelessness and disconnection, coupled with, as folks are just beautifully saying and clearly saying, the clarity of racism and anti-Blackness and the social injustice that is inherent in our systems. As first generation, as you heard Nicole talk about being first generation, I believe Leslie, the intern, was talking about, many of us are first generation students to go to college from our families. Healing and taking care of ourselves is such an important, so critical to our well-being and who we are, for our survival and our success. Students of color, immigrant students straddling multiple jobs, multiple roles. Sometimes folks are like their siblings, their older siblings, kind of teaching younger siblings, or going to virtual school, right? All the just challenges before this pandemic, and now just the extra weight is dropping on our shoulders right now, right? and then living through racial, gender, immigration status, and social class oppression is just real. And that as first generation students, we oftentimes give it our all. We give our bodies, we give our soul, our minds, and oftentimes there's not a lot that's returned back. So healing is critical. And what is part of healing is critical is feeling. Feeling is a core part of healing. When we feel, we heal. So healing, prioritizing ourselves, our mental health, our self-care, right? Sometimes people are like, healing, what's that, right? And I get it. But healing is not a bad word, y'all. Healing is actually the source of power. As I always struggle to lean into healing for myself and my well-being, for that of my family. One saying I heard somebody say the other day, if I got nothing inside the tank, I'm not able to give anymore. I'm not able to give anything. Healing helps me fill my tank. We yearn to feel because it's our emotions that make life matter. We go to the next slide. So here's a saying, right? It's in Spanish. We hear often. I know my Mexican, my familia, sana salen Colita de Rana. This is a saying that we heard often in my family. My mom would come to me when I got hurt. Often, usually, time when a parent is with a child or a caregiver is with a child, a young child, and they basically are healing them. It translates into heal little frog's tail, right? So I'm sure raise your hand if you've heard this saying before somewhere in your life, right? And as a father of a 6-year-old, you may hear my son quite a bit during this process. As a father of a 6-year-old, I've been saying sana Colita de Rana a lot. So just FYI. And the phrase continues, si no sana soy, sanarás mañana. And what that says is if you don't heal today, you will heal tomorrow. So for me, what that means, what it represents as I reach back to my cultura, my Mexican upbringing, my roots, is that there's a value for healing. That saying is integral in my community. And it creates it's an intentional creating of space for healing. And as I look at that little frog, it looks so innocent, right? For such a complicated process. So let's go to the next slide. So let's go back again, Pauline. I'm sorry, one more. So as we're talking about healing, thanks, Pauline. One thing I want to make sure that I share is we were preparing for this conversation, the panel, we were talking about healing in the process. And one thing that in my philosophy and the work I do, in leadership work I do with communities of color, I see our communities as whole. Communities of color are whole. We're not broken, we're not deficient, we're not lacking, we're not in need of saving. Being different, and we are still whole, right? What we need is opportunity, we need access, we need support, and we need resources, right? The things that FEI does are the things our families need. We don't need to be seen as broken because we are whole. So as we talk about sana Colita de Rana, what I want to basically say is we have healing in us. We do it all the time. You are experts. As Dr. Tara also talks about in community cultural wealth, we have these strengths in us. We don't need, it's not a fad or some guru coming and teaching us things, right? Or me, what I'm going to teach. It's things that you've already done in your lives that are in you already. You are experts of healing already. And for our communities, healing is a deep and sacred process. As I'm in our office right now, I could smell copal burning I could smell the scent of copal in our home. And the copal is something my wife burns in our home. my wife Corina, that burns in our home to help with the healing process. And when I smelt it like as we were on, I was just connecting back to her and like just feeling her, feeling seen by her, because she knew I was presenting on this topic. So our multi-generations, right? We're talking about multi-generations in FEI. Our ancestors taught us healing. Our grandparents, our abuelas taught us healing. Our parents, our padres taught us healing. Our familias, our children, our healing as an adult. My son has given me so much wisdom in such a 6 years of life, how much wisdom he's bestowed upon me. That happens, it's our healing process, and who it comes from is so interdependent and interactive, and goes in multiple ways, not just one way down, but down and up and across the way, right? So let's go to the, so healing is happening all the time. Pauline, can we go to the next slide now? So as we're talking about healing, I just want to get some folks to, I think, Pauline, we're going to open up the chat, right? If you can just share how you heal. What are some of the things you do to self-care, to heal? If you can start jotting those things down in the chat box, that would be great. How do you heal? There we go. Meditation, dance, eating, yes, prayer. Candles and stones, the earth, journaling, horseback, painting, cooking, ocean, writing. I love it. Keep it coming. Yes, gardening, keep going. Family, just let it fly. Una oración, prayer, yes, listening to music. Oh, amen. Being in nature, walk in nature, right on. Touching water. Tiempo con familia. Breathing, helping others. Cuddling my pets. Sitting, being still. Thank you. Crying. Amen, Sophia. Amen. Forgive and forget. Breathing into my body pains. Writing poetry. So we're going to go on to the next slide. Thank you for, so as you, just that healing, right? I love this quote by Rumi, who's a 16th century poet, theologian. The wound is where the light enters, right? As we are whole, and I was talking about as we are whole, we also have wounds. This is real. And as I was saying, our wounds, oftentimes, I don't know about you all, but I often try to hide my wounds. I usually connotate pain with blame and being something wrong with me, when actually it's my wound that actually is the power and the secret for healing. As I said earlier, so as I default to hide my wounds, there's another piece that happens often is I suppress my feelings, right? I shut down my feelings. As a result, as I suppress my feelings, I also suppress my healing. So feeling and healing are just so integrated together. So healing happens when I feel and when I see the pain. Dr. Joy DeGruy, Pauline and Betsy pointed me out to her, and I saw her video the other day. She said something so powerful. Healing hurts sometimes. Healing hurts. And that's hard because going to hurt is what I'm taught to run away from. I'm sprinting away from hurt, right? Brene Brown says something really powerful. She often says, if I numb the difficult feelings, like fear or sadness, I also numb out the joy. I also numb out the happiness. My feelings are interdependent of one another. They want to be seen. Not seeing some means not seeing others. Somebody has sent me this recently. Learning to be comfortable with uncomfortable is really important to the healing process. So as we're going to be talking about stories, I'm going to invite you to look at these wounds, to go to these wounds, these imperfections, to lean into them, to see them, to hold them, to hear them. Lean into their light, into their warmth. Listen to the story they tell. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is a quote from Allison Deneen. She has an Instagram page called Notes from Your Therapist. It's just a powerful quote. I just want you to, for me, I lift up the, just go ahead and read it. I'll shut up. So this reminds me of the other day I was with my team at Advancement Project California, and my colleague had set aside some time for lunch where we were going to be on camera. We were just talking lunch with each. We were just going to be on camera talking, not working through lunch. We're just going to be with each other. One of our colleagues just got back from maternity leave, so we just want a space to be able to just talk and connect. You know, small talk, right? And never has small talk, y'all, felt so big. I mean, just the connection of the stories, the laughter, the clowning each other a little bit that was happening in that 45 minutes was just really special. And it reminded me of the power of connection. And this saying, and this quote that Allison Deneen shares about connection, and we were not supposed to be alone with our pain. That needing support and safety is something deeply right with us. So as I look at connection, so one thing, you know, as we're talking about story, we're starting to walk into story process. Connecting is one of the key parts of what I think is important for story. And connecting to me has kind of two big pieces. I'm sure multiple more, but it's connection to others, to other people, and connection to myself, Ernesto. And what connection does for me, it shows me that I'm not alone. I'm not alone in my pain. That someone else understands and sees me. When I'm hurting, it's most often because I feel disconnected with myself. I see myself of unworthy of self-love, or worthy of someone else's attention or love. So what that does, when I'm feeling that sense of that hurting and disconnection, I abandon my needs, as I don't think I'm worthy enough to get my needs met. So healing and connection is a part of a process of understanding that I'm worthy of support and love. So as we're talking about connecting, we can go to the next slide. We see this other really critical value. So this is Atlanta Civil Rights Mural, and I got this quote from Milton Glaser. And these are the two things: connecting and a desire to make things. To create beauty is innately human. So as we look at, you know, this beautiful mural of children and the wisdom and the beauty and the power of children, of these Black boys, creating beauty, this mural, this creation, all the processes that you all named, being in nature, painting, journaling, writing, singing, these are all processes of creating beauty. So connecting and creating beauty. Let's go to the next slide. So as we see these two, connecting and creating beauty, for me, they are the intersection of stories. They are the intersection. That is what stories is for me. And right now, during this time of the pandemic, what's harder than anything to do right now is to connect. And what's one powerful way that I can connect is to tell stories. Stories help me, just like this morning, just the stories that were told this morning Nicole Taylor, the parents on the FEI video. Stories help us connect to each other, help us to connect our inner selves. Stories also help us create. Creating and sharing them, stories, is an act of vulnerability. Stories help me feel, and as a result, it helps me heal. And at the end, stories make life matter. So let's go to the next slide. So this is my 6-year-old son, Yarel. Huitzin Benavides Saldaña. It's a mouthful, I know. So I'm gonna share a little video of him. And so, as I introduce this video, you need to know the dilemma, right? That went in before this interaction you're seeing. Especially now, this happened a year ago, y'all. But the challenge is me and my wife, we're both Chicanx. My wife is Chicano Studies professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And as I do work at Advancement Project, as well as other work I do. Social justice is a very big value for us, and fighting racism is an inherent value of our family. So we always were thinking, when can we introduce the conversation about race and racism to our son? Is it too soon? Can we talk to him about this? Is he too young? Is he gonna be okay with it? Because it's scary, y'all, especially in our worlds where we don't even talk about that, right? We don't talk about racism. We don't talk about, now we're seeing so much happen, which is phenomenal. But it's hard to talk about because of the pain and shame behind it, right? So could we talk about it with our son? So the dilemma is, I'm talking about a story of mine, right? Because we're gonna go through a brief story process, but a story of mine is the dilemma of when do we talk to our son about race? Is it okay? Is he gonna be okay? Because my job is to protect my son, right? A big part of my life is to protect my son. And another part of my life is to allow him to be himself. And sometimes those feel like they're against each other, right? So the setup is, this is a book that we were reading, Separate is Never Equal, by Duncan Donahue. And my wife and him had just read a passage of it. This book focuses on the Mendez versus Westminster case. In the 1950s, in Orange County, schools were being segregated. Mexican children were taken out of schools and sent to Mexican schools, were oftentimes outside of barns or sheds, were dilapidated, no resources, no teachers, or limited instruction, limited opportunity because of the color of their skin, because they were Mexican. This case was critical to eventually overturn separate but equal and school segregation in the United States of America, in the case of Brown versus the Board of Education. So this case happened in California, in Cali, and then they used it for the national case with Brown versus the Board of Education. Pauline, can you play the video, please?
Separate is not equal.
What's this book about, Papa? What kind of schools?
Separate is not equal?
And about Sylvia going to what kind of school?
Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican school. And is it okay to treat people bad because they're Mexican?
No.
No.
So, whenever I see that video, man, it just takes me there. And his no, right? So the dilemma, right? Do we teach him? Do we talk to him? Is it too soon? Yarel, and our family spoke very clearly. With his no, his conviction, his certainty, his passion, his wisdom, it's really clear for him and our family that it's not too soon to talk to him about race and racism. As I witnessed my son, it helps me heal, y'all, because I see his wholeness. Not his need for being saved, but that he is broken, but that he is whole, and he is fierce. As I'm able to witness and believe in his wholeness, I'm able to witness and believe in my own. So let's go to the next slide. We're going to start the story process. So now I'm going to invite you all to go through this process. I'm sure you've done story processes on your own in many different ways. So this is the process. You can answer these questions. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Is 5 minutes okay, Pauline? 4 minutes? How much time should I give folks? So as we move forward, I want you to name the value of a, so think of a story, right? Name a value. Think of a story where that value is involved. Name your main character, the challenge or barrier that character faced, and how they overcame it, okay? So as you do that, and if you just get this down, that's fine. We're just beginning the process. As Betsy said earlier, this is just all an introduction. So for me and my son, the value was racial justice. The story is my wife and my son reading this book. The main character of the story is my son Yarel. The barrier or the dilemma is, do I talk to my young son about racism? Is he too young? How did we overcome this barrier? Well, as you all know, we're still fighting with this issue of racism, right? It's going to be with me for all my entire life. I've been doing it as long as I can remember. We're struggling with it as a nation. But in this situation where I have control over in my own home, is that the one thing we overcame is our fear in our family to talk about racism with our son. That we're able to have open conversations about racism with our brown boy. So I want you to take your five minutes and go ahead and just name the value, think of a story, and then I'm gonna invite one person, if you'd be willing to share a value or quick how you answered that, that'd be wonderful, because I know time is of the essence right now. So we'll go ahead and get folks started. You could take about 5 minutes to go ahead and do that. That'd be wonderful. Thanks, Pauline. And I would invite you all to look at a value that's related to healing. A value that is related to healing. A value. So we'll do 2 minutes, folks. We'll do 2 minutes. The value related to healing. A story related to healing. A value related to healing. So folks, I believe we're gonna open up. I'm gonna ask for folks, if you wanna plug in stuff in the chat, that's fine too. If anybody wants to volunteer on camera and Carlos or Pauline can open up so you can share your value. I think we have about 1 minute left. That'd be great. And I know it's a rushed process. Right on. Please let Carlos know if you'd like to share it. I think we're running out of time, right, Carlos? So let's go ahead, Carlos, and go to the next slide. So what I want to invite you all to do is finish your story, is to finish your story. And to connect to reach out to someone and share your story. Share your creation with someone that you trust. And what I would like to invite you to continue to do today is continue to witness what heals you. Thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity. And as I ask you, please continue witnessing what heals you. So I believe, Carlos, we are looking at a minute break.
Yes, thank you so much, Ernesto. All right. So for this break, we're going to take 2 minutes and we are going to enable the chat. So during these 2 minutes, be kind to yourself, feel free to connect with others, and we will be back shortly. All right, and that concludes our 2-minute break. I hope that was plenty of time to take a breath, to be kind to yourself. And now I'll turn it over to Hilda.
Buenos dias, good morning to everyone. A happy 10th anniversary FEI. I am so full of love and inspiration and emotion. This is why I love my profession. I get paid to do this. This is amazing. So my name is Hilda Fernandez and I am an English professor at Foothill College. I did want to first say that, Ernesto, thank you for sharing the healing that comes with community and storytelling, and thank you, Jarel, for sharing your story with us. And Nicole Taylor, I just feel so inclined to say your mom está presente here today, and you'll know why, what I mean by that when you hear this segment. So I have had the great fortune of working with Betsy and the FEI Dream Team for about 5 years. And I will admit that I originally intentionally, once our current president became president, one of the first things that I did is I went straight to Betsy and I said, I need to be involved with FEI because I'm gonna need community in these next couple of years. And instead of spinning in my vitriol, in my rage, I wanted to harness that powerful energy into doing things that were going to heal me and my community and help my community. So Collectively, we share a passion for working with students who, in the face of tremendous challenges, pursue their dreams to attain a better future for themselves and their families. So FEI has a unique program design and student focus. It serves a multi-generational student population, expanding the way we as a college practice outreach, opening doors to another underrepresented student population often overlooked, the parents of college students. Es con mucho orgullo, it is with great pride, I introduce my panelists for this segment titled Dream Students, the Inspirational Journey Teaching Latinx Students. Beginning with Doña Karen Miranda and her son, Carlos Pacheco. Doña Blandina Diaz and her daughter, Stephanie Santiago. And our own ASFC Vice President of Interclub Council, Josh Contreras. So Doña Karen, buenos dias and welcome. The first question, when did you join FEI and why did you join the program?
I actually joined FEI a few years ago. I was for a non-credit class offered to families with students in a summer school program. But more recently, I was given the amazing opportunity to participate in the Child Development Academy. I actually graduated from the program and I am now a certified teacher's assistant. And why did I join the program? Actually, I joined the program because of my son, Carlos. Carlos really encouraged me to join. He believes in me, so I thought I should start believing in me as well. The idea of going back to school, of going back to college was nerve-wracking to say the least. It was, honestly, I wasn't sure if I could do it. It's been so long. The reason I never went to college in the first place was because immediately after high school, I had to start working. There wasn't really a choice. As a daughter of an amazing single mother who had to work 3 jobs in order to provide for her daughters, it has, I felt obligated to contribute to my family. So there wasn't an expectation beyond that because we were just fighting for the resources to survive. And I understood that that's what needed to be done. But it pained me not to be able to continue my education. That's why from a very young age, I told Carlos and his brother Henry that they could do whatever they set their minds to. I encouraged them, and from a very young age, I set the expectation of college, of a good education that was within grasp. I put it there. It was something that they knew followed high school. I wanted to break the cycle. And Carlos is already in college, and I know Henry's on his way. I am so grateful that I could be an example for my children now, and that they can feel proud of me. That's the main thing. And up until the Child Development Academy, college had always been a big what if, but now it's my reality. It's here and I'm experiencing it. And as a mom, I always had big dreams for my children. Now I feel like I get to dream for myself, and my children are they're my rock. And FEI has been amazing. It's had a huge impact in my life and that of my families. It's made me feel empowered, that it made me realize that I am capable of much more.
Thank you so much for sharing those powerful words, Doña Karen, in your story. You are an inspiration and amazing. So Carlos, how do you feel hearing your mom talk about her college experience and goals?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely fills my soul. My mom has sacrificed everything for me, and she's the most industrious and resilient and compassionate person I know. And knowing that I've contributed to her life, that I've enriched her life, in this way is the absolute best feeling. And, you know, she spoke to not receiving support both at the institutional level and within the family to continue her education after high school. And I feel so honored to have had that opportunity to be that support for her. There's a quote that I stumbled upon a couple of years ago that reads, "My parents were tasked with the job of survival and I with self-actualization. The immigrant generational gap is real. What a luxury it is to search for purpose, meaning, and fulfillment." And so my mom didn't receive the support to continue her education. And instead of letting that weigh her down, she transformed that trauma into the aspirations that she instilled in me. And she always told me that I was going to do great things and that I could do absolutely anything I set my mind to, that college was reachable. And among all of the lessons that she passed on to me, one of the most significant lessons is to dream big. And it feels like I finally get to return that favor.
Thank you for sharing, Carlos. That's beautiful. So in your view, what makes FEI program unique?
Me?
Either one of you.
I can go. Oh, you want to go ahead, Mama?
Yeah, I love the fact that you guys don't focus only on the kids coming out of college. You're giving us an opportunity. You're helping us dream bigger than we ever thought we could. And being able to talk college with my son, you know, share our experiences, it just made us that much more connected and brought us that much more together. And I can say, you know, I mean, I actually have a huge example to follow, and that's my son. And one of my greatest, most amazing prides of my life are my kids, and everything I do is for them. And thank to you guys that are giving us the opportunity to actually be able to accomplish, you know, more than what we had in the past. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Doña Karen. Your words speak volumes in wisdom. Muchas gracias.
Yes, I told you, Hilda, last night that there was no promises of happy tears. We're both criers, as you will see throughout the day. But what makes FEI unique is that it recognizes the significance of family and community in the lives of BIPOC students. You know, when we think about supporting our students, it doesn't make sense to only focus on the individual. As a student, but more importantly, as a son, a grandson, and a brother, my family is at the forefront of everything I care about. Everything I strive for, everything I aspire to be is for them. And on my way to realizing that dream, I can't help but ask myself, how can I do well when my loved ones can't afford comprehensive health care, despite the exacerbating physical labor they must endure? How can I do well when my loved ones are made to feel powerless in their learning by an institution that disproportionately punishes and stereotypes young Black and brown boys? Or when they're stuck in a job where they're made to feel small with no way out? Or when the constant threat of family separation is looming under an abysmal administration, although I would argue that we've yet to see a good one? You know, how can I do well? I love my work with families. I love seeing the light in their eyes when I tell them that college is within reach, when I tell them that they can aspire to great heights, when I challenge the narratives about immigrants and BIPOC that they're so used to hearing. It fills me up because I see my family reflected in the families that we serve. And it takes me back to the days where it was just me and my mom and my little brother against the world, riding the bus and going to 7-Eleven. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing your truth and your story, Carlos, Doña Karina. So Doña Blandina, I have a question for you. When did you first become involved with FEI, and how did this involvement change with time?
Hola.
Hola.
Yo empecé hace como 14 años y empecé tomando unas clases para desarrollo del niño. Y estas clases me ayudaron a involucrarme con mis hijas en la escuela, a empoderarme, diría yo, a aprender a hablar con la gente. Y eso fue como como que me abrió los ojos, ¿no? Como que ahí aprendía que no era nada más dejarle el trabajo a los maestros, sino que yo tenía que hacer mi parte también, involucrarme en la escuela, ayudar a los niños en la casa. Entonces, fue un paso, digamos, importante y aquí estamos.
Muchas gracias, Doña Blandina. What is the greatest lesson you learned from being in the FEI program?
Yo he dicho que la gran lección que me ha dejado este programa es que aprendí a ser mamá. Y no es solo porque pues tienes un hijo y ya, ¿verdad? No, la cosa es prepararte ahí, cómo debes de tratar al niño, cómo debes irle ayudando a crecer su autoestima, cómo debes tratarlo, cómo debes tal vez enseñarlo a enfrentar el mundo, enfrentarse en la escuela. Entonces son muchas cosas que yo no sabía y pues gracias a las clases que yo iba, lo fui aprendiendo. Claro que tal vez era una mamá muy joven y pues gracias, me agarré de esas clases y pues creo que he sido buena mamá y estoy muy orgullosa de eso.
Muchas gracias por compartir su historia.
Can I translate?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Blandina, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to paraphrase, but what Blandina said was the greatest lesson I've learned is how to be a mom. Motherhood isn't about having children. It's about how you build them up, about how you contribute to their growth, how you teach them to take on the world. There was so much I had to learn, and thanks to FEI, I was able to, and I can say that I am proud of the mother that I've become.
Beautiful. Thank you for translating, Carlos. Stephanie, what has it meant for you as a student to have your mom involved in the FEI program? And can you provide us an example of how your mom helped you become successful in school?
Hi. When I was in elementary school, I had an IEP, so it was taking me a little bit longer to reclassify, which meant leaving my ELD class and being English fluent. So when I was in, I think, middle school, 6th grade, I remember my mom reaching out to this teacher that I had in elementary school, I think. His name is Mr. Taylor. And she reached out to him to give me individual classes on Saturday to practice my writing essays and all of this. And I remember that moment. And I guess that when I was that age, I didn't really understand what my mom was doing. But as I got older and now, I definitely understand that she was doing it because she loved me, she supported me, and she wanted me to succeed. So it's something that I appreciate a lot. And I'm thankful for.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. And what was the outcome of her participation?
Well, after that, I did reclassify. I reclassified that same year. And I thought it was great because if I hadn't had that support, maybe I wouldn't have reclassified or be where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. And where are you now? What school are you attending and what are you pursuing?
So right now I go to UC Merced. I'm a 3rd year and I'm studying psychology. I'm actually really interested in child psychology specifically. And I think that I want to study child psychology because I remember in high school when I was introduced to this child development course, and it was through FEI, and it was an amazing course. I learned a lot. And after that, I was introduced to Stretch to Kindergarten, And that's when I got to work with kids. And I feel like that program contributed a lot to my growth. And it just, I always knew that I wanted to help people, and it sort of inspired me to sort of pursue children. And yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story. It's very inspirational. And Josh, what leadership roles have you assumed at Foothill College, and how did FEI help you step into those roles?
Yeah, so my journey started all with FEI. I met them, Child Development Academy, it feels like long ago, but it's like about 3 years ago I met them. I chose to come to Foothill mostly because of the FEI, because of the resources, they had to offer to me. That same summer, I was graduating from my high school, Los Altos. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at Foothill. And I was working for FEI that same summer at the Stretch to Kindergarten program as a mentor. I asked Pauline if she could help me, apply for classes or see what I could do. Instead, what she did was she handed me over to Carlos, and he helped me register, for my classes, and he helped me set up my counselor appointment. And he actually came with me, which, because I needed help because I honestly didn't know what I was gonna do. If Carlos had not been there, I don't know where I would be right now, because he would have not told me about the Puente program, and from there it kind of turned into a snowball effect, and it led me to to a bunch of different places. I worked for FEI, my first year at Foothill, and I didn't, I wasn't in a leadership position yet. Now that I am, but I'll get to that later. But because of FEI, they kind of introduced me to people, and one of them was Sophia. I'm sure you know her, Hilda. She was the ICC rep for the Puente Club and Define American. Me and her, we kind of didn't get along, but eventually, we grew close, and that first quarter, I found out that she was going to be moving. I asked if I could take over for her as the ICC rep, and that was my first step into a leadership position. And for me to do that, that was kind of me carrying on her will, her legacy, and her ambitions, and carrying on without her. And it was, it sucked that she wasn't going to be, it sucked that she wasn't going to be at school as much. And for me, it meant a lot to me to just carry that for her. And I finished being an ICC rep till the end of the school year last year, even when COVID, shut the whole world down. And from there, before the school year ended, there was the elections for ASFC. And I was very much inspired by the work that FEI did, serving, others. And in the same way, I wanted, while I worked with them that whole year, I wanted to do the same. And I decided to run for vice president of Interclub Council. On a bigger scale, I had, now I'm in like that position. I got the support from like the club members that I was a part of, other representatives, I got to build connections with, and my cohort from Puente. And, that's how I am here today. And I can't thank FEI, I thank them a lot because, because they introduced me to the Puente program, and had it not been for Sophia being an FEI intern as well, I really wouldn't have done a lot of stuff. And, while I was working there, I went to, classes that they were teaching. And, a lot of parents there, they were given the chance to be a college student. And what I tell myself every day, and I remind myself is, and this is in parentheses, but I'm obediently yours. This to me means that I work for you, and I work to speak for you when you aren't represented, and fight the fights that need to be fought. And I put myself in the front because that's kind of what FEI taught me, being the front person to lead a lot of movements, not only just FEI, but the Puente program. And Pauline recommended me, and Carmen as well, recommended me to be a team leader at an equity retreat. And I was the youngest person as a team leader there, so to me that kind of meant something, that they saw something in me that I didn't think others people saw me in. But to me, when I say, like, when I'm obediently yours, that's what I work to do. I'm years to serve, and that's what I want to do.
Thank you for sharing that story, Josh. Very inspirational. What has been a significant FEI moment for you, and why?
I think a significant moment for me was that same summer when I was graduating from high school. I met Mr. Davalos while I was working at the Stretch Kindergarten program. I met him at orientation like 2 months before the actual summer program started. So the first thing he asked me is like, am I still in school? And I'm like, yeah, I'm about to graduate from Los Altos. And he then asked me, where do you plan on going to school with or go to? And I said, oh, I'm going here. I said here because, part of the orientation was at Foothill that, they took the parents and, the family to go visit the campus. So when I said here, I'm like, oh, this is going to be my school in the fall. After that, we hadn't built that connection yet, but I wouldn't see him again till the summer. And I worked with his daughter closely because she was a very shy kid who spoke not a lot, but she was very kind and smart. And, I tried my best to, help her feel comfortable in the class and make sure that, she was comfortable with everybody, not just me, but like the teachers. And every day I saw Mr. Davalos come pick her up, I would tell him, oh, your daughter Isabella, she's doing this in class. She's doing great. You can do this type of stuff with her at home to help her out. So from there on, every time I would see him during the program, I kind of built that connection with them. And, when the program ended that summer, I didn't think I was going to see him anymore. Little did I know I was wrong, but, I wished him the best, for him and his family. I would have liked to continue helping him in any way. But, 2 months later passed and, my first day of school started. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I just went to go get my textbooks. I ran into my friend and he asked me if I would go to him to the smart shop. Again, this was when we were still in person. So I went with him and I ran into Mr. Davalos right then and there. He got his picture taken. He had his ID. I saw him walking out. He was looking at it. He had a smile on. And, I knew from there, like, this guy, he's going to mean a lot to his kids. At that very moment, I didn't realize it, but later on I would. But, I saw him smiling. I'm like, hey, I said, hello to him. I always refer to him as señor, and that means Mr. in Spanish. So every time I saw him, I would be like, hola, señor. And I would see him, every week, every other week, or, every couple of days, during the fall quarter and even the winter quarter. But I didn't know if this man was going to need help. And, I kind of felt bad because, I had my own stuff to do. And every time I would see him, I'd be like, how are you doing? And I wanted to continue that relationship, but, COVID hit. But before that, I always saw him at the library. I saw him at the TLC Center getting, a lot of help. And, I knew in that very moment, this man, he's good on his own. He doesn't need someone like me, to help him out. He got pointed in the right direction. He seems like a very independent man. And, in that same summer program, a lot of, what FEI emphasized was, college is always an option. And even in their, classes that they did out in the community, they really emphasize that, college is always an option for you. It's always out there. It's never going to leave. It's just whether you take the initiative to, go. Not everyone has the luxury like Mr. Davalos to, go back to be a student like full time, because to me, he was doing a lot. And, I really admired him for that, because not only because he took that initiative, but his kids are going to have a role model to look up to. They're going to, he'll at least, he won't know the answers to everything, but at least he'll be able to guide them somewhere. And, that was something that really stuck with me, because, not everyone's parents get to go, especially, for us in the Latinx community. Not all of our parents, got the time to go back to college. And, my parents, well, they wanted to go back, but, they had me and my siblings here. And they had to work. But Mr. Davalos means a lot to me, because I don't know, this man is just something special to me. I wanted to help him in any way, not even like just him on his college path, help him succeed, but also, his family. I really wanted to help him and his family, make sure, they have the right support in any way that I could. And, it sucked because COVID really stopped me from that. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to see this man ever again on campus.
Yeah, I could report that he's doing well. He and his family are doing well because he was in my class last spring in COVID. So I'm really excited that you brought him up, Edgar Davalos, and he's everything that you shared. And it was a wonderful experience seeing him and also seeing his children virtually online. So thank you for sharing that story, Josh.
Like I said, I really want to help him even,
yeah.
Anyway, but.
So we do have a minute or two, and I wanted to open the floor for any of the panelists that wanted to share any final words, something that came up or that they would like to share with our community.
Can I share something?
Sure.
All right, so this is something I just say for the end. These are just, words that, just for you to think of. They come from this famous director. You might not know him, but his name is Orson Welles. He directed a very influential film. The film is Citizen Kane. He did a lot of, radio talks where he talked about a lot about social, a lot of the social problems he had back in, when he was alive, back in the, 50s and 60s and 70s. But this is one of the quotes that stuck out for me when, I listened to him talk on the radio, but these are the words. We can't die on behalf of progress, we can live for it. Progress we take to mean a fuller realization of democracy. The measure of progress as we understand it is the means of equality enjoyed by all. The way our fighting brothers and sisters looked at it, some of them dead as I speak these words, the way they looked at it, we're lucky. And they're right, we're lucky to be alive, but only if our lives make itself worth dying for. None of us will get to see this blameless peace we strive, pray, and die for what will be here when we're gone. Our children's children are the ancestors of a free people. To the generations, the fight is worth it. And that just means when my time is up, I remain as always, obediently yours.
Thank you for sharing, Josh. Anyone else from the panelists?
Quiero dar gracias a FEI porque gracias a que yo tomé esas clases me inspiró. Ahora estoy en el colegio, estoy tomando unas clases para sacar mi certificado en educación temprana y pues yo creo que fue algo que me abrió las puertas y pues aún sigo con las ganas de seguir, ¿no? Y más que nada es eso, agradecer y que pues ojalá y todos los padres que tomen esas clases se inspiren y sigan porque pues es una buena plataforma, diría yo, para empezar. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Doña Blandina. So thank you for your inspirational stories and your words. Wow, so deep breath, absorbing everything that I'm feeling right now, gratitude, resilience, love, community. So in closing, I want to share the immense pride and I assume everyone in attendance feels in hearing your inspirational stories. Doña Karen, Carlos, Doña Blandina, Stephanie, and Josh, your resilience and your ganas por sobresalir, pursuing a college degree in spite of numerous challenges is at the heart of Foothill College. Thank you for demonstrating that with and in community, we can achieve the college education that we might have thought impossible. Muchas gracias.
All right, family and friends, at this time, we're going to give you another bio break. So please be kind to yourself. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you so much, Hilda, for that beautiful presentation.
This is that once in a lifetime.
Right, so now we'll be leaning over to our last presenter for this piece of the magic and power of community. So we are going to give this opportunity to Miss Elena Lopez, Carmen Ponce, and Betsy Nikolchev.
Hello, everyone. I am so honored to be here today and to celebrate FEI's 10th anniversary. Today, we have heard stories, Nicole's immigrant journey, Ernesto's healing journey, and Hilda and the Dream students' journey about going to college. So I'd like to continue this thread of storytelling and tell the story of FEI through an evaluation lens. So evaluation tells a story. And for FEI, it is a story about providing the opportunities, the resources, the supports, and the networks to advance educational equity. FEI's story is also about providing a healing space and drawing on the strengths of families to support first-gen college going. If we look at the term evaluation, it's derived at its root from the word value. And for FEI, evaluation means documenting the value of its work towards educational equity. But what do we mean by educational equity? I think there are many different perspectives out there on what it is, but the one that I like best goes something like this. Educational equity is about giving each one of us what we need to succeed in school and in lifelong learning based on where we are and where we want to go. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I am reminded about the plants that I have in my garden. Each one of them is different and they need different levels of care. So for each individual student, each one of them needs a different type of support, and we have to respect that based on where they are and where they want to go. So how do we measure FEI's progress towards educational equity? Next slide, please. So we can measure, first of all, what matters. And for FEI, that means an equitable education. And as you can see on your screen, the first box there is about equity, and by that we mean access and participation to FEI's program and services. And if we look at the students and families that go through FEI's programs, we see that 84% of them are Latinx, immigrant, and bilingual families with limited educational attainment. And 90% of the students qualify for Title I free and reduced price meals. One of FEI's goals is to promote a college-going identity. And by that, we mean that the students, whether they are the younger kids or their parents or grandparents, have a perception that they can work hard to pursue this goal and that they have developed the skills to enable them to succeed in college, and that they also have the support of their families to be able to go to college. And we can see here, based on the numbers that FEI has collected over the years, that it is indeed making progress towards its achieving of an equitable education. Now, FEI also cannot do the work alone, and it is important for it to collaborate with the faculty and with the college and with other institutions in the community to make college going a reality. And we can see that through its partnerships, 400 first-gen college-bound students have access to mentoring and leadership opportunities. We have just heard from Josh and how he has assumed leadership roles in the college, and also the multi-generational approach to college going. 100% of FEI educators promote college to all their students and have also understood the importance of this multi-generational approach to college going. Now, I've known FEI for a number of years now, and it does not rest on what it has accomplished in the past, but also asks itself, what next? How can we improve the services for the next cohort of students that come into FEI's programs? So FEI has a true commitment to evaluation and to learning. It has cultivated a learning mindset. And by that we mean having an attitude towards problem solving, reflection, and taking action for the next steps. And there is no better person that can speak to this approach of learning and continuous improvement than Betsy. So Betsy, I hand it over to you.
Elena, first of all, I want to thank you so much. Elena is an absolute pioneer in this work. Before anybody really talked about family engagement, Elena, was the director of the Harvard Family Research Project, and that was my go-to in the beginning. I mean, people just looked at me cross-eyed every time I brought up this notion, and also this notion of collaboration. It's not about transforming families. It's not about, as Ernesto said, broken. It's about transforming ourselves, each and every one of us, as educators, as partners, as community. So let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So one of the things, and we're just going to quickly talk about this, but we gotta walk the talk here. So FEI really believes in this rapid cycle learning. Thank you, Elena, for mentioning growth mindset, because growth mindset can be scary only because you're not following a recipe. A plan is only as good as the next day. And I'm not sure whoa, we're going back and forth here. Okay. But rapid cycle learning is based on design thinking, which is very human-centered. And it's about design, implementation, learn, adapt, repeat, and not necessarily linearly, in a linear fashion. It can move in its different directions. So because we valued shared responsibility, and Nicole talked about this morning in her powerful speech to us, is that, it's not just FEI's got this program, we're gonna come into the community, we're gonna come into the schools, trust us, we got it. It's, we are going to come in with our funds of knowledge. Partners, you need to share yours. Families and students, you need to share yours. And that way we will achieve what we all share in common, which is to support the absolute growth, talent, and maximize the potential of, our amazing children and youth and young adults. I'll go to the next one. Thank you. And so again, rapid cycle learning, I invite anybody to take a peek at this research to begin practicing this, but it is a collaborative approach. It's about co-designing. It's about making sure that decision makers really have, that the voice of the community and the students are represented, that they are decision makers in helping co-design and shape. Again, it's, the willingness to come in with your materials, with your best self forward, and learn and improve. And so I thank you so much, and I want to pass this on to Carmen.
Thank you, Betsy. Well, it is a morning that filled my heart, with all these stories, with the healing, having you in here. And one of the ways that we tell our story is by the PhotoVoice project. It's a way that families share their perspectives, their strengths, their challenges in their environment and in the community. When they share these photos, it promotes educators, family, policymakers, discuss opportunities to create change. PhotoVoice was first established to help spark the decision-making for village women in Yunnan province in China for regional development. What happened, the women were asked to document their lives through photography for 1 year, and they met regularly to discuss the photos they took. At the end of the year, the women shared the photos in an exhibit, which in return they help bring awareness to the community and policymakers. This PhotoVoice project allowed them to have a voice to gain self-respect and control through the power of photography. And so we believe that photos build trust, they teach, they provoke a dialogue that leads to change. It provides educators and community access to settings that may not otherwise be available to them. FEI adapted the PhotoVoice to encourage families to share their stories. And it's important to us because, especially during these times, I would like to share the recent PhotoVoice with you from one of our families. Next slide, please. These photos were shared with from one of our families. And I'm just gonna read the story as you look at the pictures. Before COVID-19, my children were very active and involved with sports and physical activities. Now they are home. We have to find ways to create, share, and learn something new together. We are enjoying doing arts and crafts on the weekends. Every weekend we do something fun as a family. Last month, my daughter's teacher talked about acts of kindness. She wanted to take care of herself and the family, so she asked to help me cook. I started a small business making masks to generate some income during difficult times. My children are my motivation. My daughter told me, "Mom, you are helping to stop COVID." She is so proud. We are giving back to the community by making masks donations to people in need. Wow. This family have found ways to stay together, united, and active. I want to share with you that this mother not only learned how to sew, she learned how to sew after 2 months, I think maybe less than 2 months, after having a hand surgery. And she did it. She started a new business that keeps people safe. She also used her earnings to buy a sewing machine. Wow, she keeps going and going. She's a perfect example of determination, strength, and resilience to her children. This family, along many others, are the inspiration to us. We value the stories of each of the students, families, community members. We value your stories. We know that together we can create a change.
So thank you, Carmen. So I began this presentation by talking about evaluation as a story, and I shared with you a few of the numbers from FEI's impact report. So for those of you who are interested in looking at more numbers that tells the story, you can find this on the FEI website. But just as important as this report, the story, is the storytelling process and the storytellers. So evaluation is a partnership, ideally a partnership among the evaluators and researchers, the program staff, and the students and families that are involved in a program. Unfortunately, evaluation has not lived up to this partnership, and it is the families and the communities that are often left out. Their voices are left out in the planning and in the design, in the implementation and the interpretation of the evaluation findings. I think the PhotoVoice is one approach that will enable families and students to take a more proactive role in an evaluation process. Evaluation is empowering. Why is it empowering? Because families and communities get a chance to make decisions. Decisions about things like, what is it important for us, for our community to know? What are the most important questions that we should be asking? What are respectful ways of collecting data? And once we have the data, how do we interpret the findings? And how can those findings suggest new possibilities, new areas for creating opportunities for families and communities in terms of education and promoting college-going identity? Here we have in your screen ways that we can adopt equitable evaluation approaches. They're actually tips, and we call them the 5 R's. First of all is reach out, know your community, reach out to families and communities. Reinforce, meaning to say, recognize and acknowledge that there are funds of knowledge among family members, students, and the communities, and that evaluators really have to expand their knowledge or their conceptions of what is expertise, because people have their funds of knowledge. Raise up means just engaging families and listening to their perspectives and what they can bring to an evaluation process. Relate refers to team building. Really, an evaluation should be a partnership among the evaluators, the program staff, and the families. And perhaps most importantly, it's reimagine. What can you use the data? How can the data support reimagining the future of families and students and the community? So I think we can all work together to make this happen. So perhaps we should have just like a moment, a minute for reflection on, if you're from the evaluator, researcher, administrator position role, is how can you adopt more equitable evaluation approaches? And if you're students and families, is also think about what are your own strengths and skills and knowledge that you can bring to an evaluation process. So perhaps Carlos can tell us when the minute is up.
And that concludes our minute.
Thank you, Carlos. So I would just like to end where I began about the story. So I hope this panel is the beginning of a golden journey for the next decade of FEI, and that we all work together to create a new chapter in FEI's story, that we work collaboratively to achieve educational equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena and Carmen. Thank you so much. We were going to take a little break, but we're running slightly late because we have all these wonderful things to share. So we're going to hold off on this break, and we are going to move to our honorees. Okay. Yes, thank you so much. So there is an infinite number of people to thank that have shaped the work of FEI, pushed us to be our best selves, and showed us love and support over these 10 years. And many of you are in this room today. We thank you all. But we'd like to take this moment to honor certain influencers who have been central to our work, our impact, and our drive. And who better to lead us in this ceremony than our own president, Thuy Thi Nguyen, who has championed equity on this campus from the first day she began service as president of Foothill College. I invite Thuy to say some words, and please introduce our esteemed honoree, Liz Simons, chair of the board of the Heising Simons Foundation. Thank you, Thuy.
Thank you so much, Betsy. First of all, let's give it up to Betsy and the entire FEI team for an wonderful programming. If you can go into your reaction button in the chat room, it's just give them a lot of love because they have done such a tremendous job. We were really hoping to celebrate on campus, but what they've done today was also still being able to bring out the energy and the love that you see in FEI. Congratulations, FEI, for 10 years of incredible impact to the community. You know, Chancellor Judy and Minor and I have such appreciation and love for FEI. So that's why Chancellor Minor and I are joining forces today, and we will match every donation up to $1,000. So far I've seen that there are over $500 donations. So already we've raised over $1,000 because of the dollar match that our Chancellor and I are doing. So please go into that donation box and donate, and let's see if we can get over $2,000 with that matching from our Chancellor and myself. We are a community college, and we often strive to bring community into community college. So here FEI brings family, making our college a family college. So even this morning's celebration, we heard how we bring family members into our stories. Carlos with Mama Karen, Pauline and first gen Mama Julie, Ernesto and his son, Nicole Taylor and her mother. Someone who is also inspired by her own parents, just from what I've been reading about what she's written in terms of her own motivation to go into philanthropy, and she has made significant impact. That person is none other than our honoree, Liz Simons. Liz Simons is board chair of this Heising Simons Foundation, where it was founded by her and her husband, Mark Heising, in 2007. Now, she has been committed to educational equity and social justice her entire life. She currently serves as advisory council for the Stanford's Graduate School of Ed and on the advisory board of the Stanford Center for Philanthropy and Civil Society, as well as on several boards, including the Marshall Project, the Foundation for a Just Society, Math for America, Smart Justice California, and the Learning Policy Institute. Liz volunteers at the Beat Within, a magazine by and for incarcerated youth, and as a storyteller in a transitional kindergarten class. Liz Simons founded Stretch to Kindergarten in 2009. Can I say that again? She founded Stretch to Kindergarten in 2009, a cornerstone spring, summer, early childhood education program led by FEI for 10 years. Though the program ended this year, given the upcoming sunset of the Heising Simons Foundation grant, its impact on the lives of young children, youth, and families live forever. Please help me welcome to the virtual stage our wonderful honoree, well-deserved Liz Simons. Let's give her a big hand. Oh my gosh, Liz, are you here? Let's see if we can unmute you. There you go.
Yay! Thank you so much. That was such a generous introduction. I want you to know that I feel that I'm accepting this very generous award on behalf of our entire foundation, including Holly Kreider, who's on this call, who's done incredible work with FEI. So think of it as a collective award, please. But really, as I told Betsy when I first learned of this, I'm the one who should be thanking her and Carmen for all that they've taught me over the years. I remember those early days way back in 2009 when our family foundation was first getting off the ground, and I came to know Betsy during my quest for people with expertise and passion around early childhood education and care. Betsy had that in spades, and it was she who taught me over many cups of coffee, something that now seems so obvious, that young children can never be an advocate's sole focus, that we have to think of them always in the context and the warm embrace of their families. Mm-hmm. Working with Betsy and Carmen taught me so much, but I think I could boil it down to 4 words: the power of relationships. Together at Stretch to Kindergarten, we work to develop relationships, and I know many of you have talked about this today, but with the school districts with whom we partnered, the preschool and elementary school teachers who shared classrooms and visions for their teaching, the middle and high school volunteers who in the early days helped out in the classrooms, and especially with the families, the parents who were always welcome and regularly joined the teachers in the classrooms, and the children who themselves had marvelous lessons to teach us. I remember those STK graduations where the children would sing and share their dreams for the future, like growing up to be a teacher, an astronaut, or a butterfly. And the parents and brothers and sisters who would capture every moment in their hearts and on their cell phones. Another major capstone of the program was a visit to Foothill College, a visit that was really for the parents, but it was important for the children to be there too. The staff at FEI in Foothill would work with the parents, many of whom were immigrants, young parents of color, helping to fill in gaps in their access to higher education and supporting them in their dreams of going to college. In this moment of racial reckoning and growing societal inequality, I take my hat off to Betsy, Carmen, and everyone at FEI for honing in on preparing under-resourced high school graduates for college and for the life ahead. And in realizing their dreams, parents are beacons to their children, who in turn have the chance to realize theirs too. So thank you for everyone at FEI, y un gran abrazo a todos ustedes que son parte de este proyecto mágico. A big hug to all of you who are part of this magical project. Thank you so much.
Oh, Liz, thank you. Please put in the chat room, give Liz and Carla and everyone from the foundation and the family. It takes family to support family. So Liz, your words are so moving. Thank you for your generosity, your impact, and your influence. I also see in the chat room, our trustee, Peter Landsberger, has made a donation of $1,000. Thank you so much, Trustee Landsberger. You have always been an impact in your own right too. Thank you, thank you. Well, it is with great honor and that our Executive Director, Betsy Nikolchev, and I, on behalf of Foothill College, will present to now Liz, more formally, the Influencer Award. So,
now wait, before you know, I'm not going to not say a word here. So you got to give me a minute here.
All right,
but,
all right.
I mean, first of all, it is absolutely my greatest honor to honor the vision and the generosity of Liz and the Heising Simons Foundation, Holly Kreider, program officer, who has been such a thought partner for me over these years. Those grants that FEI has been awarded were really a lifeline for us. And it enabled us to really put a stake in the equity field. And we will forever be grateful for Liz's vision of Stretch to Kindergarten and for her commitment to leveling the playing field of school readiness. Liz absolutely embodies for me these 3 C's, which is caring, courage, and connection. A very favorite experience that happened every year was Liz would come to SDK. She would spend time talking to, listening to teachers, parents, children, the youth, making those connections. And then she would grace us with reading a beautiful book, Bossy Gaito, that everybody looked forward to every single year. And I just want to say, in the words of another mentor of mine, Marian Wright Edelman, families don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so thank you, Liz and Holly, for your continuous demonstration of love and belonging and the exponential differences you have made in the lives of so many. So thank you. Please unmute and let's give a big round of applause, everybody. Now, part of this virtual thing is I can't hand you the plaque, but we will be doing deliveries. So,
Betsy and Carmen and all of you, thank you again. And I feel very much like I already have the award in my heart. And again, it's for all of us, really all of us here that this award is for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, everybody. And now we want to acknowledge some of our partner organizations. Again, our visionary partner organizations, and if we could maybe move to, yes, thank you so much. And this time we're going to save the applause to the end because we want to give a huge loud round to them all. So let's talk about our Campbell Union School District. And we are going to highlight, we are hoping our superintendent, Dr. Shelley Vermontes, is in the room, and our Director of School and Student Services, Rosanna Palamo. Oh, okay, Rosanna, great. Everybody sees Rosanna, and on behalf of, yes, please acknowledge Dr. Shelley Vermontes as well. And really thank you for your long-term partnership of 6 years and your unwavering commitment to student success and the determination to find the best solution collectively with your partners and your families and your staff to meet the needs of all the children, and especially in these challenging times of distance learning. You got us all together. We're constantly in conversation. We appreciate that. Thank you for all you do. Okay.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be really hard to save the applause here, but please hold on, team. Mountain View Wisman School District, we want to make sure that Chief Academic Officer Kathy Bauer is in the house. Yes? Yay, Kathy. Okay. Okay. For Mountain View, for your long-term partnership of over a decade. I mean, we go back far. And for being the original Stretch to Kindergarten site. Thank you for trusting in us. Woohoo! And then our Sunnyvale School District, our Assistant Superintendent, I'm hoping that Mala Ahuja is in the house. Mala, are you here? Yay, Mala, okay. For your amazing partnership, your dedication, your humanity. 7 years and second STK site. Woo! Thank you for that. And your commitment to co-designing programs, to working together to best serve our most vulnerable students. And then we want to welcome our Columbia Neighborhood Center, City of Sunnyvale. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I see Dustin here, service coordinator, yes. And of youth and family resource, and I'm not sure if Angela's here. No, but you're accepting on both behalf. Wonderful. I want to say for Columbia Neighborhood Center, who is really in the heart physically and, you know, so very literally in the heart of the community, just a willingness to always welcome us into your neighborhood place and to work together to provide accessible, affordable, and culturally responsive programs. Thank you so much, Columbia Neighborhood Center. And the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley, woohoo! I'm hoping that we have President and CEO Ron Gonzalez. Yes, thank you, Ron. And Chief Development Officer Clara Roa, who is also helps us on our advisory board. Clara, are you here? Yay, Clara. And our Director of Education Programs, Lisa Dominguez. Lisa, are you here? Woohoo! Okay. You are our newest partner of 3 years, but we really commend you on this shared vision of college access, retention, and success in the Latinx community. Your commitment to building leadership and talent from within communities, and to be so innovative and agile in making programs work by honoring the partners that you serve, and we're so proud. So please join me, unmute, big round of applause, and we will be dropping off those real plaques soon.
Yay!
Amazing! Thank you, thank you.
I turn it over to Carmen.
Thank you, Betsy. Now, I want to honor our families and community leaders. This is great because we want to continue sharing the story with you. I'm so fortunate because my everyday work is inspired by the values, traditions, culture, language, diversity of the FEI families. Thank you for being part of the FEI story. Thank you for inspiring us. I'm going to start with Miss Yolanda Rose. She's a champion. She is a principal who shared the values of FEI. She's the perfect example of what a community leader is. She has a great sense of humor. Yolanda advocates for her families, elevating their voice, creating a trusted, safe space that's inspired honest conversations about equity, access, diversity, and inclusion. Paula Perez from Mountain View Wisman School District. I have the honor to know Paula for several years. She's a mother of 4. Paula is one of the members of the FEI Advisory Committee. As a community leader, She always advocates to get resources and equal opportunities for her community. Monica, Max, Maria Luisa, and Sarai from Bishop Elementary School. Grandmother, 2 daughters, and a son-in-law. They prove that family is the foundation for student success. They always have the sí se puede attitude. They see the importance of taking NCP classes to support not only their children, but each other. Erika Gonzalez from Sherman Oaks. When she first joined our NCP classes, didn't know much about technology, but suddenly she started using all the tools and strategies learned in the class and started a parent email group to engage parents in school activities, building a community of support. Luis Peña from Lynn Heaven. Great attendance and participation, always friendly and warm, always taking care of his classmates and helping us to create the safe environment for all the community. Adriana Correa Jimenez from Blackford Elementary School, build inclusion and belonging to our families in the PTA. She's the PTA president. Great attendance, a huge support in promoting our NCP classes. She took the leadership in the garden project at Blackford. Carmen Osnaya from Rosemary Elementary School. Transportation was not a problem for Carmen. She made it to all the classes. And also she supported the teachers and she encouraged other students to take the class. She's a role model for her daughter. She always supports her classmates with a big smile. Alma Dominguez and Eric Gonzalez from Monroe. For Alma and Eric, their children are their motivation. They are the never give up team. They are involved in the children's school. They are currently taking 2 NCP classes together. They believe that love and family is the most important value. They are the perfect example of resilience. Yadel Lopez from DCP, she's very involved at her kids' school. She provides health information about health insurance, information about community resources, and she always has the positive attitude, and she wants to make a difference. She also helps us to promote the NCP classes. All of you are an inspiration to us. Thank you. Please, everybody unmute and join me for a round of applause to congratulate our families and community leaders. Thank you.
Okay. Please do not go anywhere. Congratulations to all of you. And now we have a surprise influencer honoree. This is to honor a very special someone who leads with humility and heart, has built trusted relationships with countless children, youth, families, students, and educators in the community for decades, is a thought partner and a sister, has bettered the world through her service since she started her first classroom in Lima, Peru. Please unmute and join me in recognizing our Director of Family and Community Engagement, Carmen Ponce.
Hey, Carmen! Carmen!
Keep going.
Carmen, we love you.
Carmen.
Carmen. Speech. Quick speech.
That's when you're going to do music, P or R. That's when you get to choose.
Oh. Carmen.
I'm speechless.
Okay.
Thank you for all of you, all our families, Betsy, the team, and to be let me be part of this story, you know, like I think we have, we share the values, we know what we want, we have a passion, we want to continue writing this story. And yeah, I'm speechless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay, try not to get too teary here. Okay. I want to say just to give a time check, we are not going to watch the second part of our video because you will be able to connect to the link on our website. Please do finish it. It's really amazing. There's some beautiful conversations to be had, and feel free to watch the first part over again. So I think we'll make a slight program adjustment. I want to now hand this over to Carlos Pacheco Miranda, our wonderful program coordinator. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Betsy. All right, so just let me take care of some technical stuff here.
I apologize for not the pre-warning, but I was just checking the clock, and I know your panel's amazing.
No worries, no worries. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you everyone for your patience with all the tech stuff. A lot of things are just coming up at the last minute, and so we're trying to readjust and recalibrate as best as possible. And so I believe all of my panelists are co-hosts now, and so they should be able to unmute themselves. And so I'll open it up, and then I'll transition to my panelists so that we can. So I'll give you your cue. But hello, everyone. Again, my name is Carlos Pacheco Miranda, and I'm the program coordinator for FEI. I started my journey with FEI about 9 years ago as a high school volunteer and intern in Stretch to Kindergarten. I was in the summer between my sophomore and junior year. And since the beginning, I've been met with trust and understanding and instilled with inspiration and hope. I recognize my strengths, but I don't know where I would be without my team. And as such, I feel so honored to moderate this wonderful panel of FEI champions. Without contributions from them and from you all in the audience, we couldn't have made it this far. So before I move any further, I'll have my panelists introduce themselves, name and relationship to FEI, please. And so if you give me just a minute, we'll start with Fatai.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Fatai. I am super happy to be here today. Nobody warned me to bring the tissues, so I'm just like everybody else, a little leaky faucet, but I am so happy to be here. I've been with FEI for a year this quarter. I've been so blessed with that job, with being able to meet and work with Betsy, Pauline, Carlos, Carmen, everybody. It's been such a blessing. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I was a student intern and I'm still a student at Foothill College. I study communication studies and minoring in social work. I absolutely love the work I've been doing with FEI, all of the families, and all of the students I've been able to meet and help in the process. Life-changing. That's all I gotta say. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Fatai. Alma?
Hola, mi nombre es Alma Domínguez.
Thank you. Melissa.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa Cervantes, and I'm the Dean of Institutional Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at Foothill College, and I have the absolute privilege of working with FEI as part of our Office of Equity and with the amazing team, so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Robin?
Hi, my name is Robin Galis. My relationship to FEI is committed. I have been with FEI for almost a decade. I started as adjunct faculty and have continued as such. I had a role as assistant director, and now I'm also an NCP course specialist.
Beautiful, thank you. And Carmen?
Hi, Carmen Ponce. I'm the FEI Director of Family and Community Engagement.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So we are going to save the actual round of applause until afterward. But if you could please give me an emoji round of applause for our panelists, that'd be amazing. Thank you. And I will do it too. So many things to navigate. All right. Awesome. Okay. So I know we didn't get to see the second part of the video, but I do want to ground us in the portion that we did see today. What I love most about the video is that it shows who we are and what we do through the eyes of our champions, students and families, faculty and staff, and our partners. So starting with the perspective of the student on higher education, Leslie Gonzalez, a former FEI student intern, refers to the system of higher education as an institution that wasn't meant for her. Despite it not being meant for her, she thrives. And my question to the panelists is, what does it take to support students to realize their potential and talent and to stand in their power? And I will let Fatai open this one up.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Carlos. I really appreciate this question. I think that especially coming from a low-income family of color, I think that the very first thing to do is to redefine what it means to be a successful student in one's mind. So of course, being from a family of color, from low income, success to me when I was younger was limited, right? Because I was given limited resources. Our families, our families and everybody that we care about, they're affected disproportionately by the government, by past institutions. And so when you are raised under those kinds of circumstances, it's difficult to come to an institution and really see that these resources are here for me, that my success is just important as anybody else's in this institution. Just because I'm a woman of color, just because my family doesn't come from as much money as yours, doesn't mean I deserve to be here less. And so with that, I think it's important for students to realize their potential and talent under a system where they feel welcomed, within a community where they see other members that are in power. They see that they look like them and that they understand their socioeconomic status, their background. I feel that way at Foothill College. I feel like I am seen. I feel like I not only belong, but I am wanted by the faculty. I'm wanted by the professors that I meet. It's a whole nother feeling. I haven't felt like that at another institution. I was probably just treated like another student. And so realizing that there are no limitations to my own success as a student has helped me to realize my full potential. And that starts with all of the faculty that I meet. It starts with all the professors that have made it so clear to me that they're here to support me. It's that outward love, taking responsibility for the students and not just their learning, not just their education. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fatai. And, I love that you speak to the support and the sense of belonging you feel at Foothill College. As a student in community college, I've gone to Mission, I've gone to Cañada, and I've also been at Foothill, and just that culture of belonging is palpable. And it's something that I'm always looking for in other community colleges. So appreciate that. Robin?
I want to piggyback on what Fatai say and really ground the question in the responsibility and the ownership piece, right? And I think when we think of, the term community college, emphasis on the term community and where that responsibility lies in terms of creating a space that supports students to, stand in their power and realize their potential. And I love the idea of flipping the narrative. Instead of asking students to be college ready, what does it look like to be student ready, right? And so what is our investment out into the community to cultivate, to empower, to build confidence, to build ownership, right? I mean, I think it's this idea of feeling like there is a sense of ownership that Fatai talks about being part of this institution, having a voice, having a place, being seen, being heard. And I think, what FEI does in terms of, contributing towards this is, really helping students to create an identity that says, I will be, and I am a college student, right? From the beginning, and that dual generation model, building it with, you know, the families and the parents that we serve, and also knowing that we're setting a model and helping to support their children, and hopefully their children's children, right? And I think alongside building that confidence piece, it's more than just saying, oh, you know, hey, I feel strong enough, but what are the tools? What are the resources, the navigational capacity, the ability to advocate for oneself? How do we demystify the institution to support students to dream and to hope and to expand their ideas of what's possible? And I think, you know, it comes into finally, you know, practice and reflection, right? The more we do and acknowledge, the more powerful we feel and become.
Thank you, Robin. That was beautiful. And I had to drop a quote in the chat. Instead of asking us if we're college ready, we need to be asking if they are student ready. That's powerful. Thank you so much. Alma?
Pues yo pienso que el amor y el apoyo familiar es muy importante. Rodearse de personas que son un ejemplo de éxito y de superación en todos los aspectos y que nos dan las herramientas para mostrar nuestro potencial. Yo, por ejemplo, siempre soñé con estudiar y mi papá no le gustaba que estudiáramos y mi mamá a escondidas nos mandaba a la escuela. Y logré tener una beca, pero desgraciadamente mi padre fallece y tuve que trabajar para ayudar a mi madre. Entonces, ahora me doy cuenta que nunca es tarde y que si hubiese tenido personas como ustedes de FEI que me hubieran guiado y me hubieran dado las herramientas para seguir adelante y no parar, hubiese sido distinto. Pero pienso que el amor y el apoyo familiar es algo súper importante.
Muchas gracias. All right. So love and family support are what students need to stand in their power. Surrounding yourself around people that inspire you to dream big and reach far, that give you the tools to show and realize your potential. My father was against studying. My mom would send me to school and keep it a secret. Eventually, my father passed away and I had to stop going to school so that I could make money for the family. I want to thank FEI for giving me the tools to keep going forward. Muchas gracias. All right, beautiful. And so now I want to move on to the next question. And at one point in the video, and I can't recall if we saw that part or not, but there's a quote of mine that reads, "An institution that does not serve my family does not serve me." And my question is, what does that quote mean to you in terms of equity? And I'm going to turn it over to Carmen to open this up.
Thanks, Carlos. Well, your quote makes me reflect that we cannot serve the students if we don't know the students, if we don't know their stories, if we don't know their traditions, their values, their dreams. You know, families, whoever helps you grow, whoever writes you with you the story, we need to hear them. We need to listen to them. We need to treat them as partners. You know, we need to elevate their voice. We don't need to look at the dictionary for the meaning of family and success. We know they are together. We know there is an evidence of that, you know. And this quote really translates to me as, if you don't open the door to my family, how can I trust you?
Beautiful. I love that idea that success and family are intertwined. And in fact, that was a response of mine in my English class either a week or 2 weeks ago. My success is undoubtedly tied to whether or not my family is okay, not only okay, but thriving. You know, that they have what they need emotionally, financially, physically to keep moving forward. Beautiful, Carmen, thank you. And so the next person I am going to turn it over to is Melissa.
Thanks, Carlos. Family, familia, like just that word evokes emotion in me and in many of us. I'm sure, you know, and it's been an emotional morning. But when I think of what I have been able to accomplish because of my family, because of their sacrifices, because of their hard work, because they love me and believe in me and helped me to believe in myself, I wouldn't be here. I'm a product of the community college system. And I can hear in my father's voice, I hear him, you know, bragging to people he meets on the street. My daughter is a dean at a college, you know, and he may not completely understand what it is exactly that I do, but he knows that I've succeeded. And he knows that because I had the ability to bring my family with me on my journey. I shared what I learned with them. I invited them to my office at every job I've ever had. They've met my bosses, they've met my students. They came with me to campus events, and they were at the table with me when I defended my dissertation to earn my doctorate degree. That moment was incredibly powerful for me and for my family. My journey, my success is their success, and I will not leave them behind. So institutions have to recognize that the deep-rooted connection that exists between students of color and their families and their contribution to the success of that student. Equity is about dismantling structures that harm our students so that they can thrive and be successful, and to ignore that connection to family, to not create spaces for families, for them to participate and engage and to support their student. That is just perpetuating the harm that historical oppressive institutional systems have inflicted on our students of color. We cannot and will not leave our families behind. It's super important not to do that. And just as everyone has said, you know, we're so intertwined. Our family, our experience as students, our experience as professionals, and within these systems, they're so deeply intertwined with our family. We have to recognize that as institutions.
Awesome. I love that story about how your dad brags about your position, even though he doesn't know what it means. And I think that that just exemplifies that in his mind, the fact that you are something that he doesn't know about means that you reached heights, the heights that he aspired for you. And so I think about my grandma too. She, you know, I tell her I'm a program coordinator, and I told her that, you know, I told her about when I got my raise and that I'm getting more responsibility, and you know, she brags about that. And I'm like, I don't know if she really knows what I do in the community, but she's just so amazed that, you know, her legacy is doing big things. So I'm gonna start.
I'm so proud.
Woo! Okay. Beautiful, thank you. And so just because I wanna make sure we honor time, I'm gonna segue on to the next question. At another point in the video, there's a quote of Carmen that reads, FEI brings college to the community and the community to college. How does FEI bring college to community, and why does it matter? And this time I would like to open it up with Alma.
Ay, pues lo más importante para mí es que vinieron a nuestras vidas personas increíbles como Omar, Pauline, Fatay, Carmen, Betsy, no sé, todos ustedes, es una clase muy accesible para cualquier persona. No discriminan, nosotros nos sentimos súper cómodos, mi esposo y yo, cuando estamos en la clase, no sé, el poder decir que soy una estudiante de Foothill College, que mis hijos me vean, que mi mamá, sobre todo, mi mamá vea que lo que ella vio en mí lo pude hacer. Y esa visita al colegio, ese tour que nos dieron, te puedo decir que cambió nuestras vidas, la mentalidad. Cuando te vi a ti, Carlos, vi uno de mis hijos y puedo ver que él tiene ese potencial que tú tienes. Y no sé, esta clase a mí me ha dado muchas herramientas para poder involucrarme más en la escuela con mis hijos, como dijo la señora que entrevistaron hace un rato, y saber que mis hijos tienen derechos como estudiantes, saber cómo reaccionar a un acto de racismo, ustedes en esta clase nos han dado muchas herramientas a nivel personal y para ayudar a nuestros hijos a que no paren, que nada los debe de parar. Y una frase que nunca olvidaré de ese paseo en Foothill College es el testimonio de una alumna que que esa pregunta que a ella le hicieron sus padres, yo se las hago a mis hijos y es, nunca les digo, ¿vas a seguir estudiando? Ahora les digo, ¿a cuál universidad vas a ir? Porque tienen que lograr sus metas y yo no permitiré que nada ni nadie los pare. Gracias a esta clase.
Muchas gracias, Alma. Voy a traducir. The most important thing to me is that amazing people have entered our lives, all of you. This class that I take is accessible. I feel comfortable and welcomed. Being able to say I'm a Foothill College student, that my children see that their mom is where she is, that what my mom saw in me was realized, I can tell you it changed my life. When I see you, Carlos, I see my son. I see the potential he has in you. FEI has inspired me to stay engaged. It taught me that my children have rights. It taught me to navigate racism. Something I will never forget from the trip to Foothill College, Family Bridge to College Day, is a quote from one of the panelists where she said that her mom, with her mom, it was never about whether she was going to college, it was about what college she was going to. And that's something that she has implemented in her own life. Muchas gracias. Robin?
Carlos, you can't make me follow that. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle. I don't think there's a question. I mean, I know the question was, you know, how does FEI bring college to the community? And, you know, we have the why that it mattered. I mean, Alma's story just says it all. But I want to talk a little bit then about what it really means to do access and opportunity work. And I want to talk about why that matters and how that matters, right? It is not just that FEI offers non-credit parenting classes in the community. It's not just that. It's not just that, you know, we go out and pre-pandemic hold those classes in the community, right? We're not asking students to come to us. We are going out to students. But I want to highlight how we do this work, that, you know, we are calling, we are texting, we are working with community partners, we are activating our family leaders to engage with one another, that that it matters because of how we do it, right? That is not a static thing. It is not a static thing to just simply offer access or to simply offer opportunity, but that is an entirely activated and engaged way of being in the community. And it matters because it works. You know, I can't stress that enough. When I look at the number of families that we have served and the way and the deep level of impact, to me, that's why it matters. And it matters at the individual level for every Alma story to the collective impact of having 6,000, 8,000 students in the past 10 years come through our work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. There's so much love on this panel. And I want to ask if we have time for the final question or if we want to continue with closing remarks. And so it looks like we have time to go on to the next question. Great. Okay. So the final question, Maria Morales, one of our non-credit students, says this about her first time at a college campus. She says, "It's beautiful, especially being here as a family, to be able to motivate my daughters and my granddaughters and to tell them, yes, you can. Si se puede." So in the spirit of the age-old adage of si se puede, what inspires you to persevere in your education, work, and life? And I would like to pass it over to Fatai.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, si se puede, the two things that really push me in my life, passion and family. I mean, just as I think Ernesto was talking about earlier, that experience of wholeness really pushes me to keep doing this kind of work and to keep, you know, succeeding in education and to learn more. Just as like Nicole was saying, the parents and the families that we help, I can't help but see, especially our parents that are immigrants, I can't help but feel like I'm helping my own parents. And I know that they struggled, you know, being immigrants and having young children. So it really just speaks to me, seeing how much work that we've done and how much work that FEI has done, especially during this pandemic, how many families and students have had their lives changed because of the resources that they've been able to get in contact with. It's really amazing. So yes, just family and the passion, the happiness that I feel doing this work really drives me every day in all areas of my life. And I cannot be more grateful.
Thank you, Fatai. More recently I was made to, consider what my purpose is. And so it got me thinking about how our purpose is tied to the transformation of our trauma. And so being able to see my families reflected in the families that we serve, that's why this work feels like my purpose, because I get to provide families the opportunities that I felt were deprived from my family when I was growing up. So thank you. I'm going to do Alma next, and then we'll close it up with Carmen, okay? Thank you.
Pues como dice Fatai, la familia es quien me inspira a mí, mis hijos, el darme cuenta que, o sea, ver personas como ustedes como ejemplo de que cualquiera puede lograrlo, esta celebración me hace ver que sí se puede, sí podemos salir adelante, lograr nuestros sueños. Me doy cuenta que me inspira a darme cuenta que la educación para mí ahora, después de la salud, es lo más importante, el tener una mentalidad ambiciosa en el sentido de educarnos para poder darle a nuestros hijos un futuro mejor y que ellos aprovechen todas las oportunidades que hay, pero ellos son mi inspiración.
Gracias, estaba tomando notas. All right, my family inspires me. This celebration here and now is evidence that we can come out on top, that we can aspire to great things. It inspires me to continue with my education. By the way, education is second only to health in terms of my values. And it's a mindset, and it's a mindset that helps us move forward. Gracias. Carmen?
Wow, lots of lessons learned, especially coming from Maria Luisa, a wise woman. Thank you, Maria Luisa. Gracias, Maria Luisa. Well, for me as an immigrant parent, personally, I think Si Se Puede is just more, it's more than just say you are able to do it, you're capable to do it. It's about seeing challenges as an opportunity. It's about knocking doors even when they are closed. Who knows better than our immigrant families, our students, is and the life at work, I get inspired by all these stories of the students. I just learned a story from one of our students. She had to stop going to college, attending college because of financial hardship during the pandemic. But she said, this is just a pause. This is just a pause. I'm gonna continue. I'm not gonna give up my dreams. You know why? Because my family says, Si Se Puede. That's the meaning of Si Se Puede. The translation doesn't honor the meaning. It's more than just trying. It's an attitude. It's like desire to do it, desire to achieve, desire to move forward. So that's why we need to include our families. They bring that perspective, that Si Se Puede. We have the kids at college, we have the kids achieving their dreams because, behind them, they have somebody to say, Si Se Puede. And I want to play that role in this, and I want you to play that role in this. Take that together, Si Se Puede.
Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful. And in closing, I would like to say that everyone in this virtual space has made significant contributions to our work. As demonstrated by this panel, when we show up, we bring so much more than our education and our work experience. We all contribute to our traditional and learned wisdom, our lived experiences, our stories, our values. It's together that we can ensure a collective vision of equity on our way to justice for all. Together, we breathe life into the beautifully complex and nuanced adage of Si Se Puede. So please unmute yourself and give our panelists a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, and Betsy and Pauline, I turn it over to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Okay, let me see if I can catch my breath here. Sorry. Okay, I know Ernesto said you got to cry to heal. So here we go. We hope this day was healing, filled you up. In the words of Sean Ginwright, he says, I know you because I know your humanity. When I speak from the heart, I show my vulnerability. And when I tell my story, I open the door for you to tell yours. Thank you all for the courage to be who you are, to share those stories, to connect today, to make this world a better place. And thank you for celebrating with us. And yeah, I know that we wanted to, my team is just amazing. You can see, I don't have to say much more. And I've learned so much along the way, and I continue to learn, and I continue to be inspired by everybody in this room. Everybody. And my family too. You as my family and my own family. Thank you. Pauline, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you. I think everyone here, we were just giving honor to whom honor is due, and we were giving it back to our parents, back to our family, and back to those who came before us, even our ancestors. So that is beautiful. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to my mom who's here today. And I mentioned a little bit about her. She raised 7 of us. My dad was there, but he was working hard to put food on the table and care for a big family. And while she sent me off to school, she went to school, college the same time as me, and we graduated together. We both got our bachelor's together, and it was such a pivotal point in my life. I love you, Mom. I'm so sorry, but I just wanted, I thank God every day for my mom, because if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would be here serving everyone. I want everyone to feel love. I want everyone to get the access that they need to be successful. Because like Ernesto say, we may be diverse, but there's one thing that brings us all together, that unity. And that's why we all resonate with each other. So with that being said, Carlos is going to drop a survey in the chat, and we would love to hear from you all. Any reflection, and woohoo to FEI's 10th anniversary. So please take this time to fill out our survey, and give if you can. And if you can't give money-wise, I know your spirit is with us, your mana. That spirit, it keeps us, it fills us going. It keeps us going. We may be a small team, but we're mighty. And you can hear us roar from cities to cities, because we're making a difference. We're planting our seeds, and it continues to grow. So thank you all for joining us here today. Our donate link is going to be in the chat. But also, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Pauline, thank you for those beautiful words. Julie, I'm so glad you're here to hear those from your daughter. Our Judy Minor, are you ready to lead us in a birthday song? Are you here? We need a birthday song.
My voice isn't what it used to be, so I only sing for my family. So of course I will lead FEI. Anyone who knows Las Mañanitas, unmute yourself, sing along. I may have some different lyrics than some of you. This is what I learned. But anyway, this is a happy birthday for FEI. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. A las muchachas bonitas se las cantaban aquí. Despierta, mi bien, despierta, mira que ya amaneció y a los pájaros la luna ya se metió. Happy anniversary.
That was beautiful, Judy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Be safe. And
Gracias.